mates, welcome back to day 2 of week 2 of the Overwatch World Cup APAC Group B qualifiers. There we go, we got it all.
Online
qualifiers. Oh, I nearly had it there.
There it
My
is.
name is Matt Pixie Carroll. Joining me right here is Kevin Walker, and joining me over there is Domino. How are we doing today, guys?
Yeah, good. I'm a little sad, actually, because it's the second last day, which means it's almost over. And so I'm sad about that.
Well, I have some good news for you. After this, there's actually even more World Cup because we're going to the group stages. We can go ahead and take a look at how that shakes out. Actually, we are in that APAC Group B. As mentioned, 2 of these 6 teams will qualify into those group stages where they will go up against the qualifiers of all of those other regions, both A's and B's. And all of those will be scrambled up as well, so we will have countries playing against countries that they have not yet come across in their starting groups during the online qualifiers. Very exciting stuff. And of course, we still have yet to determine who our 2 winning teams are going to be. It's looking like a bit of a 3-horse race right now, and I think after today is probably when we're going to start seeing that shake out a little bit, especially after yesterday we had some pretty serious deciders that really kind of delineated who is exactly where. This was the big title bout of the lot, India versus Australia, and well, I'm going to give this one to our resident Australian to talk about.
Oh, that's me, isn't it?
You,
okay,
yeah.
I had to mind blank for a second. Yeah, so Australia did take the win here. We saw Nanda play a lot of Farah, which India could just not contest with. We did, I think, expect this to be a bit closer in matches, but Australia seemed to just sort of snowball against India there. And look, Color Hex coming out with the Farah as well, and I think I'll hand over to Avril for this one.
And that first game was, that's you actually. You're a resident fake British person and you're covering the wrong broadcast because that's an EMEC. But that first game, Australia-India, was our closest one. Despite being a 2-0, it was the most competitive match. The other 2 games after that, unfortunately, were a little bit more one-sided, quite a bit more one-sided in some cases, and pretty simple play through for New Zealand and also Thailand. We expect them to do well there. Maybe there were some questions about whether New Zealand would look clean versus Malaysia. They indeed, they were definitely a step above Malaysia and currently still keeping their heads above water is New Zealand, and they're going to need to continue doing that because they are the 4th team on that list of 4 that could still make it through. Singapore already eliminated, with Malaysia losing that game to New Zealand. Officially, they've been eliminated as well, and Thailand sitting pretty comfortably in a position where if they can beat India today, they have a very strong chance of making it end. So where it stands is we've eliminated the bottom 2 teams, Singapore and Malaysia, and the top 4 teams, we still have yet to find out which 2 are going to make it through.
And you can see it writ large there, of course. Australia leading the pack right now, but have played 1 less game than Thailand. Thailand had their last game day, and it's a very do-or-die one. If they lose it, then they are, essentially their fate is out of their hands. They're relying on winning on a tiebreaker. Speaking of which, New Zealand's only hope to get it as well relies on them winning today, relies on Thailand losing, and relies on, again, a series of tiebreakers to fall in their favor. So it's a bit of a shaky path out for some teams. Australia looking very likely to make it out. If Thailand pick up a win today, they're essentially guaranteed to make it out. So there's still quite a lot to play for between all of these teams. Let's go ahead and take a look at what matches we have on the cards today. As I mentioned, really important one there on the second one between India and Thailand, but we actually kick things off with Australia versus Malaysia.
Which, by the way, is also somewhat important to Team New Zealand waiting the wings, because if you saw where the standings were, every team is sitting on currently 3 wins. If you make it a 4 wins, you're basically guaranteed through. The only way New Zealand can sort of hope is to rely on 3-2 tiebreakers where teams are sitting at a score of 3 and 2. In order for that to happen, one of the pathways actually is for Team Australia, who are not currently guaranteed. If they lose to Malaysia, then lose to New Zealand, which is a must-win for New Zealand, then both those teams will be on a 3-2. If there's enough teams on a 3-2, I think you need at least 3 teams on a 3 and 2 tiebreaker, then New Zealand has a shot. That would be the only shot. So one pathway on the Australian side exists where they would need to lose to Malaysia. If Australia does beat Malaysia, which is expected, that pathway closes. And then New Zealand needs, I believe, India to beat Thailand, and then India to lose to Singapore tomorrow. So that would be the other pathway. But beyond that, what you mentioned between India and Thailand, that is a very important game between those 2, and probably the more pressing sort of result they were looking for, because the winner of that likely takes one of our 2 spots going forward.
Yeah, that's the really interesting thing. Obviously, after yesterday, both India and Thailand have taken a loss against Australia, who are still looking like the team to beat. Let's be completely clear about that, as much as we're talking about how they would need to lose to Malaysia and a whole bunch of other things, and then New Zealand would have a shot in their head-to-head against them tomorrow. The more likely outcome, actually, is that Australia can guarantee themselves qualifying in off the back of today if they can win this very first match of the day. And indeed, we might have even established who our 2 qualifiers are if Thailand go ahead and pick up a win thereafter. But Australia's roster, Domino, talk us through this.
Yeah, so as you guys have mentioned, I think Australia will win this as well. To be honest, I think Australia is going to go undefeated through the qualifiers, and they've got such a strong lineup here. We can see Kuffer is going to be starting off today instead of Punk, which is what we've actually seen a lot throughout this online qualifiers, is Kuffer doing the control maps and then Punk getting subbed in later for other maps where they've really needed the Sigma play or the Ramatra play, and Kuffer kind of taking more of those dive roles here. And so not surprised by the starting lineup. And Nanda, again, I'm guessing we're going to see some Farah on the control as well from Nanda.
We actually caught up with Kuffer yesterday, and he mentioned very specifically with regards to Punk that that they're using him for very particular hero picks. Generally speaking, if they want to run the Winston, they're bringing in Kuffer, and Punk kind of covers a lot of the rest of their hero pool. So again, it kind of speaks to what we're likely to see. Speaking of what we're likely to see, let's go ahead now and take a look at Team Malaysia.
Yeah, this team did struggle quite hard versus New Zealand yesterday, and one of the key matchups they struggled in was versus Kale Hex's Farah, and I think you're going to be struggling a little bit more today versus Nanda because he's an even better Farah player in this pool, in this matchup, compared to where Kale Hex was, who, again, is still working through some role swapping, teething issues, some hurdles there, but Nanda is deadly in this, guys. That dude is going to be really rough to play against. And J003 tried to go on the Echo yesterday, didn't work out too well. GamePro dude brought out a bit of Cassie at one point. J003 also brought that out as well. Not amazing. Unfortunately, you know, for Malaysia trying to take down Nanda on the fire on the first control map is going to be a struggle. However, they can still take us to Circuit Royale, which I expect to be our second map, not just because everyone picks it anyway, but specifically for Malaysia. That's where they thrive.
Yeah.
Jay gets to play the Widowmaker. Fantasy goes to the Sigma. It's really their only shot. I didn't think they did super well on it yesterday. I'd like to see them improve on that performance from Circuit into today's game.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, funny enough, that is yesterday was the second time we had map 2 not go to Circuit. We went to Numbani once, and then we went to Shambhali Monastery yesterday between India and Australia. Every other time it's been Circuit Royale. So yeah, quite likely that we'll end up going there. Stranger
It's
things
also
have happened.
strategically beneficial for Malaysia to go there. So.
It is, absolutely it is. And with that, we of course kick things off. Speaking of maps on Ilios today, that is preset. Then loser will pick the subsequent map. We go into choice of either escort or hybrid, followed by push. And if we do have, if we go to hybrid and we get a draw, and we're all the way there at 3 and 3 with a draw, and yada yada yada, then we go to control again. Has not yet happened.
No.
Unlikely to.
Probably for a good reason.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Australia's got this one in the bag, and I wouldn't be surprised. I would like to see something other than Circuit Royale, but as Avril's pointed out, it's probably what they're going to pick. It's the safe pick, but I'd love to see a different map, but I doubt it.
Quite possibly. At any rate, I do believe we are ready to get stuck into our first of 2 matches of the day. An important one, the one that could lock in the qualification from Australia. Any final thoughts of support for the boys before they get into game, Domino?
No, nothing specific. I'm expecting Nanda to maybe play the Farah or the Echo here and just to control those skies and to control those high points, especially here on the opening well.
There it is.
I still don't know where the string pluck is.
There it is. I just heard it. I don't know.
I still don't recognize it.
Unfortunately, the map pool is not going to end up, at least for the first map, favouring Team Malaysia with Lee Jungle, Ilios, Nepal, all 3 pretty fire friendly. In fact, on Ilios specifically, it's an Echo favoured map as well. So I think they should just roll out on the Echo straight away. Don't even bother with anything else. If you roll on the Echo, you're already off to a pretty good start. If Nanda then goes fire, you have a good shot of at least doing something there to dissuade him. But unfortunately, we don't have anything like a Busan or an Antarctic Peninsula in here, which would be less favourable for the fires. And for Team Malaysia as well, this is also their last game. So a couple teams will be finishing out their World Cup run, at least for the online qualifiers here today with Malaysia and
Thailand
also
being the other,
Thailand. And if Australia does win, they will be the first team on 4 points, and 4 points is the cutoff in my belief to actually have a guaranteed spot. So yeah, you're not going to get too many teams with 4 wins or more. So with that,
in fact, with the head-to-head between Thailand and India, I don't believe it is possible to have 3 teams on 4 and 1.
Exactly.
So
if
4 is the threshold.
Thailand beats India, they are also on 4, which means they've guaranteed themselves.
Exactly.
So at the end of today, we might have
could have
2 teams.
both qualifiers
It's
in.
true.
Exactly.
It's possible to have both our teams in.
We'll have to
Which
see.
means tomorrow's games are just for fun.
I love a
for
fun game.
Matches.
Get the Trans-Tasman for fun bout. Be nice to see Australia win something
The Bledisloe
Trans-Tasman for once,
Cup.
actually.
Don't know if everyone knows about that.
They probably don't.
That's their loss. So Jay's going to start on the Echo. That's expected. I think that's what you should be doing. Nana could actually also just play the Echo. I think there's a better Echo map than it is for Fire. It does require you to roll Bertlog on the Mercy here as well. And typically this would be enough. Typically one Echo versus a Pharmacy duo should be enough. Let's see how good Jay is today, because he didn't do too good versus Hex yesterday.
There it is.
Not doing good versus Nanda in the first fight.
Yeah, already has his number. One of the other things we noted is obviously Fantasy quite limited on the tank pool here. Been playing a lot of the Jungle Queen, and that hasn't helped them a whole lot either. GamePro dude a little bit under fire here. We'll be able to recall to safety, but yeah, Fantasy's taken so much pressure. Likely to go down here, completely surrounded. It's the first point going over to Australia with 3 unanswered kills very cleanly collected.
We'll see what the scoreline of KDs are for Team Australia here. When the first kills come on through, it might be a struggle. Fantasy going to D.Va. This is a new hero for Fantasy, a brand spanking new hero that we haven't seen Fantasy play yet. But is pretty decent in this particular matchup. Does well against Anna, does well against the Winston, does well obviously against the Fire as well. But a lot of work need to be done here for Malaysia. Already very easy on the back foot. Numerals, if he caught the second rocket, would have gone down there as well.
And just continuing the brawl. Bertlog comfortably staying in the pocket of Nanda. Numenors trying to do a similar thing to JW3, but again, still just taking a lot of a beating. Contesting the point at least is Malaysia, and they've got that extra help from the D.Va, but there we go. Solo rocket barrage just to deal with JW3. Keeps the rockets firing on the body as well, just so that Numenors can't come in immediately to try and go for a res. Now Numenors' attention pulled elsewhere. Gonna go down, Nanda seeking that one out. And, okay, Fantasy.
Off the map?
Yeah, in the drink, in the well. I assume there's water at the bottom of it.
It might not be, and that would be painful.
Yeah.
Well, has anyone in Australia died yet?
Not to my knowledge,
okay,
no.
So not yet. Waiting.
100-0 with no deaths would be very impressive.
It'd be
flawless run.
Exactly flawless, correct.
A
It'd be as flawless as you
grand
ever do. And that would be the goal. That'd be the goal for Australia.
Another kill onto JW3. Numenors trying to go in for a res, but just can't afford to commit to it. Popping the Valkyrie as well now, taking a lot of heat, lot of pressure from the ground, and just that one-man advantage is really keeping Malaysia muscled off. Look at this, Nanda is still keeping on top of Numenors. Meanwhile, Cuffer diving on the ground will find Gemini. GamePro dude as well, losing in the duel to Quinn. And you can see in the supports there, in the kill assists rather, just how much impact Bertlog is having, just kind of sort of timing out really well to sort of pop from hero to hero, throw down the extra bit of... No, out of range of the self-destruct. I was going to say throw down the damage boost.
Flawless? That's it?
That was, yeah, that was flawless.
Deaths?
No deaths, none whatsoever. That's why I was waiting to see if Nanda was in range of the self-destruct, because he was channeling the rocket barrage and would have not been able to avoid dying, but was out of range of it. Impressive stuff.
I mean, the bigger challenge would be, can you do a whole map flawless?
Can you do it twice? I'd love to see it.
I don't know if it was flawless, but I do know in yesterday's game in APAC A between Korea and Philippines, Korea, I believe, full held the payload right out of spawn on circuit, a circuit or another map, actually, I'll check.
That's impressive.
It was circuit, and they just touched the payload and won. Like 0.01, touched it and won. So
that's insane. That's really cool. I don't think we've even seen a single 200-0 this tournament in APAC B.
I don't remember.
We've had a couple of lockouts, had a couple of 100-0s, but we haven't had a team actually do it back to back on Control. Usually there's been, you know, it'll be like a fight that the winning team still wins, but the other team gets like a cap partway through for like 10% or something. GamePro down early, Numenors as well. Oh, the streak ends as Aki gets picked off. Fantasy in the counter dive there. And I mean, that's to be expected. It can be a little bit hard to keep yourself alive against Winston diving in when you are button immobile. Anna. Speaking of which, though, Fantasy is going to be dispatched of by Nanda, and once again, the opening point caps go the way of Australia. May yet get the 200-0 lockout.
Still waiting for their first pick to come through as well. They've got a sacrifice now away from the Echo. Moved over towards the Ash instead, a little bit of a long-range hit scan to see if that will be effective versus Nanda.
I bet it won't.
It'd be... normally it would be somewhat effective, but at the moment, GamePro is not able to get any angles, and Nanda's just marked him out. It's kind of what you need to do. Mark out the Ash.
Oh.
Make sure the Ash is not going to have any sort of ability to work with you at all.
Could be that the kill feed isn't quite showing up right, but that looked like an unassisted kill that Aki was able to pull off on the JW3. Wouldn't be surprised if it was the old sleep dart nade body shot quick melee combo. Australia still collecting all the kills. And again, if it weren't for that one death on Aki, they'd actually still be on a perfect record right now.
Aki did die, unlucky.
Unlucky.
Unfortunate. He's paying for the meal afterwards. That's what's happening there.
First round on Aki.
So the opposite
Rocket Barrage,
through.
very clean. 2 quick pickups. Did get slept, but otherwise under embarrassing.
Poor showing there.
Well, Cuff is getting second round.
I was going to say, Ultimates are coming online for Malaysia. Should be soon. And I believe Game Producer is still working on the first bomb there. 40%, that's quite a fair bit behind. That's
I mean, he's barely been able to fire off shots. He's thrown dynamites. That's about what he's been able to do. He's not had sightlines to play through. And that's really telling. That goes to show just how dominating Nanda is right now, that he is winning the sightline battle against an Ashe on the ground. Numenor's down. Nanda, once again, just so comfortable. Cuffer getting aggressive. GamePro dude barely able to play the game. Collected 8% of ult charge in that entire exchange.
Now on to 85% of the map. So you wanted to see a 200-0. I think it's about to come through.
Looking very likely with those extra deaths, and Quinn even fighting J003, getting a pulse bomb stick as well. Not an easy one to pull off in the Tracer duel. Barely anyone alive for Malaysia GamePro, dude. I mean, struggling to even get near Nanda, just keeping on top of him, had the nano boost, not even touching the point.
It's like 3 players didn't get an ultimate.
Absolutely devastating start for Australia.
Wow. Devastating in the good way. Devastating, unfortunately, for Malaysia.
Who are devastated.
But exactly what you'd expect in terms of the prowess of Australia coming into the series. Nanda, I believe, went flawless. So I think 2 players died there, Cuffer and Aki, and that was it, right?
Yeah, Cuffer and Aki.
So
the only one that went down.
3 players went flawless. Impressive.
Really impressive. How impressed are you, Domino? Are you as impressed as the 2 of us?
Well, yeah, I definitely think we expected nothing less. We knew Nanda was going to roll out in the Pharah. Nanda probably has hundreds, if not thousands of hours on a Pharah, played as Pharah. He's also being pocketed by Bertlog on Mercy. He clearly did not care about any hit scans, any divas, anything that was going to be challenging him. So he just controlled the entire sky of the map. And so well done to them. Nanda knows how to play that hero and how to play it very, very well. And Malaysia, again, didn't have an answer, unfortunately, to that play.
And, I mean, a lot of people haven't had an answer to Nanda's Pharah, let's be completely honest.
It's probably not going to happen this tournament.
Do you have an answer?
I would love to see if and when Australia get through, because there's only 1 map now separating Australia and 4-0 scoreline that would get them through the next stage. If they could end up at some point facing against Saudi Arabia, I want to see the Yazan versus Nanda duel. Yazan and Saudi versus Yazan AU.
Yeah!
That's the ultimate Pharah 1v1 matchup that we're waiting for.
So we'll have to see what
that would be cool.
Yeah, let's see if that ends up coming to fruition. But as you rightly mentioned, only 1 map now standing between Australia and being the first team to officially qualify out of this group in terms of the pure mathematical possibilities. We'll have to see if they can confirm that one right after this break.
You asked, we listened. The McFeast is back in all its beefy, salady, saucy glory. Value means more at Macca's, so grab a McFeast lunch deal now for only $5.95.
Thanks for sticking with us through that break. We are back. We are halfway through our Australia versus Malaysia game. And yes, I am saying halfway through. We're at 1-0, and I fully expect that we will be punching the 2-0 ticket once again tonight. And doing so, as we were just saying before we went to break, would actually see Australia officially qualifying out of this group. We wouldn't know if it's in first place or second place just yet, but it is all but guaranteed. Just one map now standing between them and a guaranteed spot in the group stages.
Looking hot, looking good. It's about what we expected from Australia coming into this event, highlighted as potentially the #1 favorite team, the expected team to not only take one of the 2 seeds, but likely in the first spot as well. That's looking more and more true the more we watch them.
And we're also saying that we are quite possibly going to be seeing another Circuit Royale. Of course, it's Malaysia's map pick once again. Losing team always picks the maps. We've seen mostly Circuit Royale.
Yep.
There's no way...
Time is a flat Circuit Royale.
Yeah, there's no way Nanda runs the Pharaoh on Circuit Royale, but I kind of want to see it.
But now you're going to face Nami on the Widowmaker instead, so things don't get easier. I'm pretty sure Nami is in. I believe Nanda should actually be subbed out for Quinn. If they want
and we'll
to
probably
roll
see
the
Punk
scan.
as well for Sigma.
You would see Punk as well, correct.
Anything else we're expecting to see, Domino?
No, well, other than Australia winning.
By how much? By how much will they win by?
How many meters is Malaysia going to get? Are they going to cap A at all?
I think if Malaysia gets the first point, Australia made a mistake.
Wow. All right. All right.
Yes.
Very bold, very
that's
bold.
Probably really...
Domino's so rude.
Really,
Rude
I can't believe you'd say that about this team. I mean, you don't need to be that harsh on Malaysia, you know. They're no Singapore. Actually, they beat Singapore, so we know for a fact that that's true.
Yes.
But
no,
yes,
I
they
think
are
it's more
struggling
just...
here.
I think it's also just Australia, maybe their players, that just maybe the mechanics are a bit more refined there within the players. You know, they're just a bit more... just that level up of skill, and so I don't think that it's saying Malaysia are not doing well. I think it's just...
Whoa, Malaysia
Australia
not doing
might
well? I
just
can't
have
believe
that
you'd say that. That's so offensive. That's unbelievable. Ridiculous. But it does look like we are all set and primed, ready to go into game. And I do think you raise a good point that really the other thing that's happening here is that Australia is going from strength to strength. So thank you very much, Domino. We will catch you on the other side. And speaking of catch, quick shout out to Macca's here. Of course, the McFeast is back in all its beefy, salty, saucy glory. Value means more at Macca's. I wish I had beefy, salty, saucy glory.
Yes, it's more accurate. It is Macca's in Monte Carlo.
Is there?
There is.
I would feel like if there's like any place in the world that there isn't a McDonald's, it would be like a microstate, like Monaco or like the Vatican. There's probably no Macca's in the Vatican.
I think there is.
You think there's a Vatican City
I
McDonald's?
think there should be if there isn't one.
Interesting.
So, we have more substitutions that I didn't name just yet. This is kind of interesting, actually.
All right, let's go.
Nanda didn't get subbed out. He's actually going to be playing support.
Oh?
So, Nanda's staying in, but he's going to be playing a little bit of bat. He's going to give Bertlog a break. Actually, this seems like a... Fantasy just said something there. He said something about a 1v1. Back on the train of thought I was trying to get there. This seems slightly BM, but on the same note, though, they don't have, I don't believe Team Australia has 2 flex supports because they're going for 3 DPSs on the team. And 2 tanks. So, this isn't like the weirdest thing in the world because otherwise Bertlog would have to play. I'm sure Bert could, but putting Nanda on a flex support here is not completely wacky. Kishmiko is also coming in for Malaysia, so that will maybe change some things. Comes an over game pro dude.
I mean, I've seen JW3 look decent on Widowmaker at times.
It's one of their better looks, yeah.
Going up against Nami is still a daunting prospect, though.
Especially with Nami defending first, you'd prefer to be the defensive Widow.
Absolutely. And Australia have a chance here because they're defending first to really just kind of punch the ticket. If they prevent a cap, if they prevent the point A cap and get a full hold, it makes it that much easier for them to win. First kill coming across, actually Punk collecting one on Gemini. No more Immortality Field, that has now expired. Just having a hang back here, Malaysia, waiting for that respawn.
Oh, got a little bit of movement. Just a tiny smidgen of payload movement to begin with. Let's see how far they get through this straight. Notice that Australia's playing this lane quite aggressively. A lot of teams will choose to hold back all the way back to the hairpin. Australia fairly pushed up. Jay could have actually died there because he whiffed his grab shot. So if Nami was able to just get that shot in. That could have been a death.
But not quite this time.
Punk is basically playing the forward corner. It's a little risky for Punk, but he's confident.
Window deployed from Numenors in Australia. They do have to back out, and it's a long way to back out. Punk is kind of hanging out in the open. Here we go. Shot through. Quixmico really killing it too with the same Storm Arrow channel. And that opens things right up for Malaysia. This will give them a lot of ground, especially if it does off Punk. Nicely done. May yet be able to run down Nanda and finish him off. Yep, and in fact collect the whole set. Here goes Quinn as well. That's a very nice start for Malaysia.
More kills than they got on the entirety of Ilios, just in that one fight. Fun fact.
In fact, it's more than double the number of kills.
That's wild. That's insane. That's a lot. So, huge coming through. Quixmico, the sub-in, gets a double kill there off the back of a window from Numenors. Australia, obviously they disrespected the window. They just played directly into it. Punk didn't quite have the flux in it. He was on like 94. If he had the flux straight away, they could have easily played aggressively into it, but he was kind of hiding. He needed to wait for that flux, and the rest of Australia just played into the window as well and just sniped out by arrows.
That was the danger of playing so far forward. Long retreat, nice kill onto Fantasy. Nami with a lot of help there, connects one. And it's going to stop Malaysia up. They were approaching the cap, still needed another favourable fight to actually confirm it.
Yeah, so there's still a hairpin, and that's kind of the relief you get, the insurance policy for Australia, because they play quite forward in the initial A defense, even after getting the entire team wiped. The payload only moves far enough to reach the actual hairpin, but Australia can still defend it.
Hanging tight with that Dragon Strike here. It was Quixmico getting 2 picks early in the last bout, the successful one.
They're going to be pushing up here.
They're really just taking their time, too much time, in fact, as Fantasy just outside of the Immortality field as they were waiting out the window from Nanda, and now Punk getting aggressive. That is 2 fluxes to Fantasy's none, actually. Fantasy's yet to use that one. Punk kind of whiffing his in the previous fight before dying, and then able to charge up a whole second prevented flux.
The whole forward holding the front corner.
And there's 30 seconds left. Everything is starting to unravel. Malaysia have all the ultimates here, but no willpower to use them.
Yeah, okay, a little bit of respect being shown. And that's the thing, right? Because Malaysia does have ultimates, and this is the fight where all the ultimates are going to get thrown in. Good chance still for Malaysia to get the cap. Even with that one death, Malaysia can toss in the rest of the 4 ultimates and hope for something big.
I was going to say, though, all it would take is for 1 critical kill. For example, if they found someone like Gemini, who is going to pop his Transcendence just to answer that Dragon Strike. So nice trade there, Quinn, happy to force that one out. Now Flux is going to be used. Only catching Nanda is going to land down into Transcendence, so he is just fine. They didn't even use the Immortality field there. A lot of confidence from Nanda. And there we go. Now has the Immortality field down in place to handle the Dragon Strike. It's now no ultimates left for Malaysia. Just that window that is about to run out. And there we go. Quixmico going down. Not looking good for Malaysia in this final fight. Every single ultimate was answered by Australia's usage very nicely of their limited abilities between the Transcendence and the Immortality field. They avoided everything Malaysia threw at them, and they completely shut them out of A point.
90.51 meters away from qualifying into the group stage now for Team Australia. And it's writing's on the wall, I'm afraid. I think we all expected that coming on in. And the teams probably expected that as well. Full hold, reasonable amount of distance. Credit where credit is due. Malaysia did win a fight there, and they got the payload all the way to the end of A, but not enough stability to be able to finish all the way through. And now for Australia, interesting to see how much time they take here. 4 full minutes to get 90 meters.
Plenty of time. Indeed, 1 successful fight could be enough for it. And we saw Malaysia really kind of struggling to keep their heads above water, just very uncertain, unwilling to commit even when they had significant ultimate advantage. And no, this isn't going to be a real... Oh, it's going to be a real Reinhardt, though. They're going for a spawn camp. You know what? They know that they need to.
I respect that they understand they can't win the mirror, and they're going to try something wacky and what is likely to be their last showing in the World Cup this year. And for Malaysia, pull through something different. Fantasy's shown more heroes today than I think for the entirety rest of the event. So saw a Diva today, saw the Ryan coming through now. No idea what the Ryan's going to look like. They don't want to show it too early. I think they are potentially showing the Ryan too early now. This is Australia know what's up. They probably understand the TP. I mean, Nami can confirm that straight away with an arrow, so look for that.
They've already seen the rotation. Yeah, there we go. Been completely spotted out, and Australia can just rotate out this side here.
Nando's going to be on the Mercy. He's going to be on the other end of the Pharmacy duo.
That's a proper role reversal. You got to respect that. And I mean, look at that. They're having to charge just to get into play. Numenal's in trouble.
Right on the ground.
Already rotated onto the cart.
The payload's already gone.
Yeah, Punk just goes straight for the payload. They keep Malaysia busy on the high ground. Malaysia, even with that setup, even with this particular combat, gets scouted out, and they just don't have any proactivity about it. Late deaths coming through now. Gemini, the cart already underway. We'll have to see if Malaysia change things up for this final potential defense on A.
Things are changing.
Yep.
Double hit scan. Numenal's went over towards the Zen.
Fantasy sticking on the Rhine. No, Roadhog.
Yep,
Okay, going full pick. He's really...
It's probably last fight here, so whatever you got left.
Hanging out.
Whatever's left in the tank at this stage.
Just tray every tank hero, see what happens.
He's got an
Here we go. One hook and do it. Oh, that's a good one, finds Aki. One of the only people to die, actually, on the previous map. And there we go, Fantasy finding another one on Nami. That's decent. Does go down, and Aki rezzed. Aki down once again, though. Nanda and Quinn, the only ones left. Battle Mercy, Nanda... you can... Just the DPS instinct kicking in. It's going to be a long, slow death here. Still, 2.5 minutes on the clock for Australia to get this one over the line. And you know what? Punk is like, all right, now he's going back over to the segment.
Yeah, I think he actually deleted his ultimate there.
I think he did.
Because Punk was about to be on Flux, if I'm not mistaken.
Instead, he's on Flex. He goes, I don't even need the ultimate.
You know what? He's they're going to play the quote-unquote real comp now, and probably won't take too much to get past. Very easy, by the way, to just throw storm arrows in when there's no shield blocking you now. As long as no one gets hooked, this is Australia running it down, sending it out.
All it's going to take is one particular pick. Anti-heal and a sleep. Fantasy's done for. Numenal's even going down. So Quinn with the overclock running finds Kixby Code, J003, and not even confirming the final kill before they get the cart past the line. Fantastic from Australia.
And they've done it. First team to qualify through.
Yep. And I think Australia should be really proud of this, by the way. And we haven't really talked about it much, but we've mentioned that Australia has generally been one of the better performing teams at World Cups in previous years. But we didn't really talk about the fact that that means there's a legacy that this particular incarnation has had to live up to, and they have absolutely done that. Fantastic work.
In this entire group of teams, Australia the only one that have ever made a top 8 in World Cup history.
Yeah.
So...
And they're well on track.
Famously got reverse swept by Canada in 2018, I believe.
They did.
There it is.
And well on track, as I said, to maybe approach those same lofty heights, indeed perhaps surpass the results of rosters past. Again, largely expect the result, but it's got to feel good, right, Domino?
Yeah, definitely. And I hope we do see them all the way to the end again of the Overwatch World Cup. They definitely have some big shoes to fill. We had some really big players back in the day, but well done to them. And look, as I said, I felt like the only way they were going to give that first point to Malaysia was if they made a mistake. And look, they almost did make a mistake. They did push a bit too far forward. They might have gotten a bit too aggressive, but they brought it back and they quickly picked things back up and played it a bit more seriously, held the team back. And so well done to Australia, making sure Malaysia did not get that first point. And look, Malaysia tried some fun things for their final map here. You know, they did a bit of the India trick there. They tried to do the really hold close spawn. Did it work? No, we've seen it hasn't worked. But hey, good on them for trying and maybe having some fun on their last matchup today.
Certainly as much as one can have, and even Australia having, let's be honest, having a wee bit of fun there with the role swap on Nanda. Having him play the Mercy, I think, was just a nice, sweet addition to the whole thing. A bit of a cherry on top.
Good thematic touch.
Really, yeah. Goes to show that, you know, the man really can do it all. Has the humility to be the pocket Mercy. And I do believe, speaking of, we're actually going to have a chance to catch up with Nanda. I know what I'm going to ask him. Hey, Nanda, how you doing?
I'm good. Straight after that
How
win.
did it feel to have to play the pocket Mercy when you were used to having the Mercy in the pocket? Bit of a role reversal? Did it come naturally to you? Did you realize that you've been mistreating your Mercies all these years? How was that?
It's a bit tougher than I thought. Just a bit of a flaw Mercy I am.
Someone clip that, by the way, because you've just made Mercy Main's days with saying that.
I have to ask Nanda, how is the team feeling? Was there like a shout of, you know, excitement at the end there as you guys just realized you're in? You're in to the next stages pretty much. Like, I don't think, like, I think now you're going to be top 1 or top 2. Like, you made it. How's everyone feeling?
Yeah, we're all pretty excited. We're just praying that we don't get South Korea in our bracket. But don't want to verse them again. Be stuck in.
It's good to see you on another broadcast, Nan. I feel like we do this often. I would like to see a particular team, though. Not South Korea. I'd like to see you guys go up against Saudi Arabia. How do you reckon you go up against Yazan in a fire duel?
I don't know. He's the fiery goat, but I reckon I'm gonna give him some money. Run him for his money on the fire.
Well, I guess I've got a final thing just to sort of round things off, and without wanting to dampen the spirit of victory too much, obviously we were just talking about this. Team Australia in previous World Cups has tended to perform quite well. We were just saying top 8 is the farthest that they've gone before getting reverse swept by Canada. That was back in 2018. There's quite a bit, I would say, for this team to live up to. Are you guys feeling any of that pressure now that you've got to move forward into the group stage? Is there any sense of needing to measure up to a certain point or even outdo Australia's best result in the past?
I mean, we're all hoping to get top 8 and get as far as we can, but I think all our main goals was making land, and we're pretty happy with that, but we're going to go all the way and see how we can go.
Well, I think congratulations are still in order for you and the gents. Obviously, you still have one match tomorrow, the Trans-Tasman rivalry against New Zealand, which I think is at this point going to be just a little bit of a laugh. But hey, we all know how to joke around between us, don't we? We still wanted the rugby. I don't really mind. Thanks very much for joining us, Nanda. Best of luck in your final series. Congratulations again for qualifying.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Man. Got a last note to add real quick is just a slight correction there. It was 2017, the reverse river. 2018 was when they faced up against Korea first, which is what we're all referencing at one
Classic,
second.
classic.
That was in 03, so it was they got
to...
top 8 twice, 2017, 2018, but both times they probably could have and should have beaten Canada. Korea was just an unlucky draw.
Tough beat, tough pull. No matter what happens, we'll have to see who they end up coming up against in the group stages and see if they can make it to the round of 8 beyond that. But we've actually still got the rest of our qualifier to go through first. We have locked in Australia, and we may yet be locking in another team shortly. Thailand versus India is coming up next. If Thailand win, they follow Australia through the qualify to qualify into the group stages. It is their last match. Make sure you catch it. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
You asked, we listened. The McFeast is back in all its beefy, salady, saucy glory. Value means more at Macca's, so grab a McFeast lunch deal now for only $5.95.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We have already dusted off one match today, and we still have another one yet to come up. We have sent one team officially, mathematically through to the World Cup group stage. That team was Australia, having just beat out Malaysia. And in our next match, we have a chance of sending another one through. Next up on the cards is India versus Thailand. What are we feeling about this?
Very important game, extremely important game. A lot of implications here. Likely the game that sends our second team through to the group stage in terms of qualifying them in. If Thailand win, they finish with a 4-1 scoreline. This is also, by the way, Thailand's last game of the online qualifiers.
Yeah.
So if they lose, they're not completely out, but the game is officially out of their hands. India would go 3-1, Thailand would finish 3-2. And then if India beats Singapore tomorrow, which is likely, they finish 4-1. So India likely then gets through if they win against Thailand today. So essentially, the winner of this game gets the second slot, essentially.
Yeah, this is the one. This is the most important one. And we've talked about it. There is technically still a pathway for New Zealand to get through, but it's increasingly sketchy.
Yeah.
It requires India to win, then lose to Singapore, then New Zealand to pick up a win against Australia, and then for it to all shake out in tiebreakers.
If Thailand want to win the tiebreaker, if they lose this and they're relying on tiebreakers, they also need India to lose to Singapore.
So this is a pretty do or die one indeed for both of these teams. If India lose it, that's it. There's no more pathway to get in. Thailand and Australia will have taken up those slots, and if Thailand lose it, they're pretty much losing out to India. That's sort of the rub. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at what we've got between these two teams. Walk us through this, Dominic.
Yes, we've got India first up here, as you can see. Now, if we take a look at some of the matches that we've seen India play previously, we do know that India lost to Australia, but when Thailand versus Australia, they actually did take a map off Australia. So I think that Thailand might be the stronger of the matchup here, but we can see India's lineup. We know they're going to put up a fight. They've got some very strong players here. So I think they're ready for this, and I know that they definitely will want to win. I presume they're still boot camping as well. So they're putting a lot into it, but I think Thailand may just be that little bit better
feel
here.
stronger, right? They
We'll
feel
find out.
on the eye test. Thailand feel like they've had a better run so far. India's performance yesterday was also a little bit rough.
Yeah.
I think we expected a little bit more. So
we actually caught up with Apudo on the Thai team yesterday after their win as well, and he sort of talks about how right now their big weakness is their communication, and when they're communicating well, they're pretty confident that they can beat all comers. So I feel like that means, all things considered, there's a little bit of an element of just the on-the-day gameplay between these two teams. If India come in a little bit harder than they did yesterday, if Thailand come in maybe not as slick and clean on the communication front, then we actually could see a situation where Thailand, despite on the eyeball test being the better team, could actually still walk away with a loss. There was so much on the line. This is absolutely that do or die moment. So this is when you'll also see how the teams behave under pressure. By the way, while we've got this roster up, a particular matchup I do want to highlight is Ace and Pummy. So Pummy's been the real standout DPS on the India side, and Ace has been that for Thailand as well.
The thing about Thailand is, communication aside, they've always got the very strong star power on the DPS line to pull them through. Mechanically, Thailand has been solid. Just speaking to the history of the two teams a little bit as well, this is India's first real run in a World Cup. They've not really had a World Cup before. I believe they've had one team in the past, but yeah, it was 2019 preliminaries, and I would say at that stage, India was maybe a little bit underdeveloped. They hadn't had the level of contenders talent that they do have now across NA and EU. For Thailand, they played in plenty of qualifying stages. They even had a Bangkok qualifying stage, which we were at, and they played in, which Apuda was at as well on that team. But Thailand's never made a main event. Outside of 2016, which is a little bit of a different World Cup look, from 2017 onwards, which is what the modernized World Cup is, Thailand's never made it to the actual BlizzCon stage. So this might be the first time if they win today.
We'll have to see. And well, with that, we've got the first map all locked in and ready to go. It is going to be Lijiang Tower. Once again, first map control is preset. Loser will pick the subsequent map, their choice between either escort or hybrids. And it is the first of two. So if we are split 1-1, we have a draw in that second map, then we will go to push for the third map. And if we somehow have a split result with a tie in the middle there, then we go all the way back to control, and loser will pick the whole way through.
I'm expecting a very close game. I'm expecting very close game, very close fights. I don't think we'll be seeing any Pharaohs. I think we'll be seeing very textbook, obvious metas, maybe some sojourns and things to take off angles, but I think this is going to be very close and very what we expect from both teams. So I don't think any surprises here.
I'm hoping for a close match. I'll say that much. I would hate to see one of these teams lose out in a 0-2 loss like what we've seen so often across this tournament. And well, on the other side of this, we will catch up with you again, Domino. Lijiang Towers, where it's all going to start for the both of these teams.
We'll say though, even in yesterday's 0-2 loss to Australia from India, it was still fairly competitive. They won one of them to 4 rounds. They capped through a decent chunk of Shambhali Monastery as well. And to Domino's point, no Farah in this matchup, I think. Thailand not really well known for it. India didn't do well versus Nanda's Farah yesterday, and they'll probably be thankful that it's unlikely to be shown in this particular matchup. Said though, they'll have to face up against Ace. The Widowmaker is going to be potentially a problem a little bit later on if we go into a Widowmaker map. So we have to see how that selection goes. But you know what? Ace is hovering the Farah. He's like, he's like, hang on a second, India kind of sucks versus Nanda. Maybe I pull this through.
Does he maybe have it in the pocket?
It could be a risk. I don't know how practiced Thailand is. I don't think you can just throw a random fire out there and just expect to win either. So I do question how practiced Thailand are on this. Because it's not just about running the one here. Your whole composition has to make sense. They're also going to be playing the Junker Queen version as well. High Vision moving on to a Soldier. That's maybe a little bit more standard.
I can respect this. And I'm excited to see how well it'll actually perform. A quick rotation onto the point from India as Ace trying to go in on the side, finds Pummy early. It's all coming back to them. The flashbacks there from yesterday. Ace does take a bit of a hit, but it's going to be just fine still as the Mercy in the pocket trying to keep the pressure on Iron Man. It does still, you do still have India on the point itself. Pummy has gone over to a Sombra, but here we go, having to rotate off, trying to force the fight. A Cash going forward. They do fight Calvin. This is allowing Thailand to back cap with Ace and Apudo in the pocket. We'll have to see how India respond. Their attention's getting a little bit split now as they pull back towards the point. They do find Pally, so 2 up now as Ace is forced away from the point. Still has Apudo in the pocket, but that draws Apudo away from the point as well. Now High Vision down means India will be able to actually grab the point. Nice hack to bring Ace to ground. A Cash not quite able to get on top of him.
Well, they're not able to deal with Ace until that kill. Finally, Iron Man finds the shot onto Ace, and he was already on low HP, but the Razor's going to come on through. What I wanted to say was, they're not really looking too hard at Ace. They mainly focus on the ground game, and this time around, but we put on Ace finally down. They'll get rid of that duel. We'll have to see if Thailand want to make a bit of a swap because, as I mentioned, it's not enough to just simply go far. India, they respected the fire coming through. They lost a player to it and said, what we can do with this composition is try and run down the 4v3 on the actual floor. So they ran to Calvin, took him down, and just played the player advantage from there.
Going in for it with a Rocket Barrage, though, wants to at least get some mileage out of this ultimate. Isolating Abs, looking to go in for it. Nope, Immortality Field is down. He is going to be just fine and not easily able to deal with that. Immortality Field is Ace, and not getting much mileage out of that as India rounding the bend now with 50% and starting to feel like the Farah pick has not paid off. Ooh, great damage on Akash, able to convert the whole kill there. And without that Immortality Field to keep him alive, because Abs to use it on himself, they are much easier, able to convert the kill much easier. Still getting aggressive on the point now as Captain Prash goes down. Nice hacks across from Pummy. Will dispatch of Apudo, but not enough to recover the fight. Even with Iron Man going down there, there we go, Thailand comfortably ahead.
I was going to say you would want to wait for the Immortality Field to be baited up before you go for the barrage, but one thing you do actually get out of that is with the barrage being used, can't use it to save Akash a little bit later on. He then becomes a target for Thailand, and you can work that tank kill into a team fight when it finally Thailand will capture the point. EMP now is available. So where does Pummy want to play this? He can look for the back line, he can look for the supports, he can look for the pharmacy combo as well, but he's actually just got to translocate away.
Yeah.
They got later. They
want the ult.
Well, that's the thing is, they don't have to fly into Pally's ult, they'll just allow the ult to come in through the back out.
And I really like that, just waited it out, going in for Apudo now. Pummy doesn't quite have the damage, but Captain Prash can follow it up, and a Cash finding a charge onto Calvin. Very clean start here, setting that up around the side from Pummy. High Vision with the overclock running. Here we go, Immortality Field, just to make sure they don't lose anyone late to that ultimate. Very nicely done. Very lean fight there from India, all told. Just the 2 ultimates and forcing a couple out of Thailand.
I think there's some issues with running the Junker Queen here because it just doesn't support the pharmacy duo at all, and the rest of the team finds it difficult to support the Junker Queen as well. It's not like you're going to be really pocketing Shatter, but totally worth it.
Very aggressive, and I really like that out of Akash, going for the solo Earth Shatter to guarantee a kill on Calvin. That Rampage would have been on the table. This is going to force final fight now as India pull ahead to 90%.
Yeah, and there's Blizzard there as well, so it's going to be difficult to touch, very difficult to play that final fight. These 2 ultimates, you know, I think the Rampage could find some value, but there's still a lot of healing there.
Ooh.
Too slow. Didn't come out.
Yeah, directly on top of Captain Prash.
Abs was too far away, I think.
And now with the immortality field down, Abs trying to keep himself alive, but super low. Iron Man pops the Blizzard, but again, with members low and otherwise dead, they don't get much value out of it. Thailand able to convert off the ultimates they had at their disposal.
Abs was just too far away from Captain Prash. We saw Abs push all the way up through main into the choke, and so far away from the rest of the team. Like, you have to be prepared to be able to have the immortality field ready for that rocket barrage. India making some swaps now. The Moira comes through, the Diva comes through. They've completely swapped off of the Brawl composition now onto basically a dive. No ultimates to play through is a little rough, and Thailand can make it all the way to 99 off
They
this fight.
certainly can. Thailand don't have a whole lot of ultimates of their own, though. They're going to have the Valkyrie available, but they'll also see Pummy actually get an EMP fairly quickly here. Can charge that one up quite handily. I do like going in for the Diva here. That's a very low. Abs will get finished off. Pally aggressively forward, but otherwise fine. Sort of stuck in a bit of an unhappy brawl against Calvin there. Is a Cash Iron Man in trouble, may yet go down. And this is not a situation where India can afford to lose anyone. 95% for Thailand. India, they're going to get one last shot at this as we're going to go 99 to 99.
Yep. And we're still waiting for Iron Man. Pummy's only just...
Pummy's down!
Low HP.
High vision. Absolutely fantastic work, and now has a pulse one that he can use to Lancy, D-Mac, Akash, Abs. Low already, goes down. High vision on a tear. Rocket barrage once again onto Caps and Prash. No immortality field this time without the bat in play. Thailand able to get that last one, and those hero swaps for India not paying off. Not because they failed to shut down Ace, but because High Vision just picked and dominated.
I mean, it's hard to rotate back onto point. You'd have to think on the Brawl, especially up against a Fire now. Looking at just so much damage on rotation, it's once again, unfortunately, for Team India, this hurdle of the Fire is just one that they continually stumble over. It's been difficult for them to do too much about it. I would say the RNG goes bad for them because we're onto Gardens now, but they are down 0-1 in this map. They would have to win Gardens and Control Center both. Even if we play Control Center first and they won that, still going to get past Gardens. At this stage, you got to expect that Ace probably runs out on the Fire again. If India can't pull through, probably Iron Man on the Echo, I would say, their chance of winning this are very low, but they're going to try and make the same Winston composition work again. This is the composition they swapped to. That felt like a late swap. This time they start on the composition so they won't be far behind.
Did have the Diva on that as well.
Yeah.
I do like going in with the Winston. I feel like it delivers them a lot more options for possibly getting on top of the likes of Pally and High Vision. Calvin manually hacked out. Just firing rockets in on the side here is Ace.
I think this is a good matchup for Calvin, though. You know, Junk Queen versus Winston is always positive for the Junk Queen, so that's a good point for time to work through.
Just taking so much extra harassment from those rockets, it's making it so much easier for the likes of High Vision to collect kills as soon as they've been taken low and weakened a little bit. And this time it was Calvin able to confirm that initial kill. Now a Cash low, trying to run for the hills, not going to be able to make it back to a health pack, and that's a late death here, given that Thailand already have control of the point.
A lot of staggers, extra staggers coming on through now, probably more to be expected. Abs, a little bit in the middle of nowhere, and a long-range rocket from Ace will secure that as well. Cash now on the Orisa. Will there be more swaps? Because now we're looking at more of a Brawl again. Very slow character. I would actually prefer the Diva over this, because it seems like they want to maintain the Lucio Moira, which gives you some options to sort of play a fast composition, whether that's with the Winston dive or something more like a Ram. But the issue is, they just can't do too much against Ace.
Abs just isolated, cut off in that rotation. Not able to blink forward, blink backwards. Separate from his team, that leaves a Cash out in the cold. Cats and Prash as well. Aputo does go down. That's probably not going to be enough to start rescuing this fight here. Iron Man would have to really pop off, but it's just too difficult right now. Ace low, doesn't have Aputo in the pocket, but it's still fine. Pally topping him off bit by bit.
Iron Man might be stuck, just use a recall. Low HP as well, it doesn't get cleaned up. Abs instantly forced to face, that's one long cooldown gone. Aputo is in a bit of trouble, and Pally TP's forward, so that was nearly an opportunity to get Aputo down.
India are going to get a cap just about. Thailand forced onto the point now. Abs is low, but he's been able to rotate around with the team, and here we go. The fight breaking out in earnest. Hack off to the side there as Pummy has to back away, though. Translocate to save the aces there, but traded for Captain Prash, and Pummy is only just re-entering the fight. EMP now catches two. The Spirit Rush already committed. Aputo low will get dusted off as well. Calvin going to go ahead and use the Rampage anyway. I think that was a bit unnecessary. They don't really have the manpower here to convert on a Cash, but as I say that, they find Abs. A Cash low, no support to heal him up. It's just, yeah, there we go. We'll be able to find him, but the extra kills come in the way of India. Very dicey fight there.
Super sloppy for Thailand, though, because they actually had Ace and Aputo split up, and the reason why Ace got picked first and actually died is because Aputo was in a weird situation versus Pummy, had to get saved by Pally. I don't know how Puda ended up being caught out. Possibly could have been hacked. Ace wasn't there to, push Pummy away, and it's either Ace just kind of leaving a Puda left to dry there, or Puda not being able to catch up. But either way, you can't have those two separated at all.
Akash has been really struggling here, and often they're finding themselves one support down in these fights. Super low, having to go in for it anyway. Popping the ultimate, not getting a whole lot out of it. Now Sound Barrier committed, trying to get on top of Calvin. But even with all of that, they're not able to get on top of him. Draws in some aggro while Akash is out in the open for just far too long with those rockets coming across. Thailand getting the cap across, 90% already. India still losing members. Now Abs goes down. They do find Ace. Nice catch there. Iron Man making the swap over to the Cassidy. There we go. Another kill coming across onto Pummy. India are just floundering right now, getting members back on this point. Akash coming in, trying to find a Pudo. Nope, it's too much of a sitting duck. Tunnel vision while High Vision takes him from the back. And there we go, 100 to 40, looking like it'll be the final score there. Was 99 to 99 of the previous one, but India barely able to muster a reasonable answer to Ace on the Farah, and the flashbacks to their match against Australia.
The woes continue, unfortunately. The EMP to come on through does catch full. The Pummy is instantly dead. Akash is off the map, and it's all over. I think it was fairly over, despite the final efforts anyway. We'll see the cap come through, the OT tick up, Thailand in position. They still led on Lijiang Tower anyway, and now they lead in the series, one map away from qualifying through to the group stage. And for Team India, the Orisa, I wasn't feeling not really the right choice in my mind. And I was also saying for Thailand earlier on, I didn't expect them to play the far on this map, because we haven't really seen that out of Team Thailand. It doesn't seem like really their style, but they'll make it their style. They said, and they looked at how rough India looked versus Nanda yesterday, and they took advantage.
Just sort of going, well, if they don't have an answer to it, we'll see if we can get away with it as well. And the answer was they could, and as you rightly point out, now one map away from qualifying in. But I'd say the scary side of that is, of course, for India, one map away from losing their shot at qualifying altogether, and they still have no answer to the Farah.
This would also blow New Zealand's chances out as well. So two teams would be sent out. Basically, their chances would be done and dusted out of this. So we would lock in Thailand, and we would lock out India and New Zealand if Thailand take the next map.
I think it was very risky pulling out the Farah there on the first map, like Night Market. While, yes, you can play the Farah, you can control that coast, it doesn't always work. And I think there was a bit of a struggle at first for Thailand. They weren't able to get on the point. Their team was quite split. You had a Tracer running around, you got a Farah running around, and then you had India, who's kind of a bit of a death ball altogether playing. So I think that was very risky, but it did pay off for them in the end, very close, 100 to 100. And then obviously Gardens is just a much better Farah map choice. Like, Farah has so much free reign there in the sky, and as we saw, India again, not able to respond to the Farah. And as you pointed out, Avril, that seems to be quite common we're seeing here this weekend.
And, well, the good news is it's India's map pick next. They can try and take us to somewhere where we could avoid the Farah. May want to opt into the sniper duel of Circuit Royale, as we've seen so many times. I wonder if they maybe try and go to Shambali Monastery again.
I think Ace will be too strong. I think Shambali's a good choice.
And then they're sort of in that same boat as they were again against Australia yesterday, where they weren't able to take out Shambali Monastery either. While still a relatively close affair. We're going to have to see what they go ahead and lock in for the map pick, though, right after this break, so don't go anywhere.
You asked, we listened. The McFeast is back in all its beefy, salady, saucy glory. Value means more at Macca's, so grab a McFeast lunch deal now for only $5.95.
welcome back. Thank you for sticking with us through that break. And if you're an India fan, I hope you went outside, had a deep breath, maybe took a quick relaxing walk before getting back into your chair, because this could be a little bit of a stressful one, a little bit of a nail biter. Dropping that first map against, again, I nearly said Australia, against Thailand, but no, it would be deja vu, because they dropped a first map against Australia yesterday as well. And now
Does feel like deja vu.
Tournament life on the line. And yeah, that Farah we talked at great length about.
Yeah, Farah's across the board. It seems to be the struggle here for everyone. As Avril pointed out, is it that they're watching Australia and New Zealand playing the Farah and realizing other teams don't know how to answer to it, or is it just actually, it might just be strong in this group stage? I don't know if any of the other group stages have had as much Farah play as we've seen over this weekend, but Ace wanted to show everyone that they know how to play the Farah as well, and they did a great job on Lijiang here against India today.
We'll have to see now. We were talking about it just before the break, what India actually choose as their next map pick. Could well be their last. They need to choose widely. They want to try and avoid the Farah once again. They still just don't have an answer to it. No real capacity to maybe opt into an Echo. Haven't been able to shut it down with the hit scans, with the switch
haven't really played
on
it
the
scan,
tank.
to be fair.
They haven't had a lot of great answers to it overall. So it's still at the back of Thailand's mind as well, that maybe they could just go to Farah and try and push it through that way. Might even be worth taking a shot anyway.
There's not really enough Farah maps left, and India will, because they lost the first
They will
one,
avoid
they're gonna pick a map that avoids it here. Shambali was chosen yesterday. I think that's a reasonable choice to move forward. I think they want to force like a Ram type situation, which I think is better for this matchup for India. I still think India can pull through and at least make this three maps. I don't know who wins if we go to push. That could be anyone's game. We've only seen, I think, the one push so far.
Not been a lot of push, yeah. And it was Thailand actually against Australia.
Two. It's Thailand, Australia, and Singapore, Malaysia.
All right, Circuit Royale opting into a sniper battle, and that is already a dangerous game to play against the Ace as well, as we were talking about.
Exactly.
But this is where they want to go. They want to play the Sigmas. I think this could still work out for India. Again, they are no slouches with their own DPS lineup. It's been that sort of... It's been a bit of a question, right, is how does the head-to-head actually look between these two DPS lineups? Well, we're going to get a pretty resounding answer on Circuit Royale.
Well, I think we've seen Ace and High Vision do very well in the sniper lineup, playing the Hanzo and the Widowmaker. They've performed greatly. We saw them yesterday, so I think this is still going to be a Thailand win. I would like to see an India win because I'd like to go to that third map. I'd like to see a really close game. We did talk about that, but I think I'm not surprised they picked Circuit Royale, but also I think this is going to be a really rough one for them. Ace has been performing amazingly this weekend. Credit to him for that.
And we'll find out in just a hot second how that all plays out. Thank you very much, Domino. After this, we may yet have crowned another qualifier. We'll have to see with how Circuit Royale goes.
It's especially rough given that India's history on this map is they don't play Pummy, Iron Man, or Matrix on that Widowmaker. They opt for specifically the Hanzo Sojin combination. It does mean that even with the Widow nerfs, you're likely to get outranged here, and you're not just up against any Widowmaker. I think you're up against maybe the deadliest Widowmaker that we've seen in this group as well, in Ace. So it would be one thing to try and test the waters in that long-range battle versus another team. Certainly another to take it up against Ace.
Test the waters of Port Hercules. The tepid Mediterranean coast.
Okay, Pummy's highlighted the Widow. Just thinking about it.
Does he truly have it in the pocket, though?
They hadn't, I mean, absolutely, you would expect it for a hit scan play. The thing is, we hadn't seen it so far. So this is coming out fresh. This is coming out new for this particular game.
Captain Prash, hovering a life weaver. Don't think we're going to see it. We saw one yesterday on Circuit Royale. Very different circumstance.
As a complete joke, correct, yeah.
And it was funny. I laughed. I laughed, I cried.
I don't know if this is going to be the real comp either. I mean, it's not impossible that they're going to go for a complete brawl composition.
This has to be something they've prepared. This is their map pick. This is surely... Oh, okay, charge in, catches High Vision.
Didn't jump out of the way, he didn't lunge.
That works out very nicely. Ace does find Pummy, though. They're still able to march down onto Calvin. Akash dying, though. Captain Prash as well. And they were tunneling a little bit on Calvin, trying to dust him off, did not have the Rhine shield up, and Pummy just took a shot directly in the brain.
Well, Akash kind of just dives straight in, has that charge, gets a single pin kill, but the rest of India was out in the open for Ace and the rest of Thailand to be able to snipe down, and you're just going to lose the long-range damage. Thailand have plenty of room to pull back on. The sightlines on this opening lane are super long as well, and once Akash's shield goes down, you're just going to be out in the open for High Vision Ace to take you down.
Going for it again now. Rotation around this time with the teleport.
Wow.
They find Ace
Good
early.
fight.
Iron Man getting a nice click on that. Bit of a lucky break for them, and now with the man advantage, they can maybe start barreling down this mid lane. But more, they have to wait for the card to catch up to them though.
Ace is swapped. Okay, they want some shield break. This is actually not bad from Ace.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you do have to kind of wait for the shield from a cast to drop here. You can be more active in helping drop that shield in the first place. And allowing High Vision as well to get in on that action. Still very effective on the range, and you can defend yourself up against any sort of aggression by sliding away. So I respect that from Ace.
This is one of those things that you do get in World Cups as well, as you get teams who have a little bit of a pocket pick, a niche composition that they pull out. India with this Ryan Cobb, they do lose Captain Prash, by the way. He will be able to get back to the team quite quickly, though, as the one upside. Reasonably close spawn and on the Lucio.
Windows available, both teams.
Whew. Iron Man having to go Ice Cube about it, a little bit low. Pummy, High Vision just snakes the final shot through. Ace does go down to a Fire Strike, but High Vision finding Iron Man as well. So no DPS is available. Akash gonna have to charge back to try and get to the team, and nope, get a shot in the back on the way. Will not be able to regroup. 2 minutes now elapsed, only 2 minutes remaining for India.
We do have Photon Barrier available for Pummy. I think the Sim is an interesting choice in this. And yeah, you do need some rotation. You do need to be able to kind of TP in, find off, not necessarily off angles, but just an angle into the stack of Thailand generally. Take a little bit of high ground there, but beyond that, you struggle in this matchup because who are you really shooting if you're Pummy? You're just spamming right clicks. They want Calvin again. Calvin looks like he got pinned there.
Isolated, there we go. One final
cancel.
shot from Iron Man will do it, and yeah, as you said, cancel the ultimate. That's a great start. Now Ace as well. Nice light wall. Photon Barrier will allow the cat to come across, so India finally getting a little bit of movement. Finally getting a little bit of progress, and now seeing if they can fish for more. Akash going deep in. Ooh, the Fire Strike didn't quite catch Pally. The Immortality Field deployed by Apudo. They weren't able to finish it off in time. Optimistic indeed does still get the charge kill. They're just trying to create this forward space. They don't want to have to play all those angles around B.
Calvin's now swapped over towards the Ram, so a little bit more ability in the front lines, and you know, this is Thailand changing their game plan quite significantly to adapt to what India is doing, who are currently solo pushing along. I respect the ultimate coming through from Pummy earlier as well, because it actually cut off Vision and LOS from the healers of Thailand.
Ace just eliminating the car wash beams there. Trying to get shots across onto Pummy as to pull back.
Hiding behind
shield there,
one
cowering with the Immortality Field there. Now it's gone. Ace going deep in for abs. Might have overextended. And Akash does turn tail and find him back. Calvin on the front side of the fight has been able to take out both DPSs. Now Akash just hanging back with Captain Prash, and they've got to play these angles once again. This is exactly what they were trying to avoid.
A couple of wayward shots coming through from Ace there, and the extra time allowed Akash to just jump in and get the pin. And with that, Akash also goes in the low ground and gets away. However, India lose that fight. Bit of expenditure coming through from Thailand to enable the play. Blizzard time from Iron Man. Could work out, but you'd have to safely rotate into Thailand here.
And that's the tough part, because
And there's a chance to defend.
You got Ace and High Vision just pummeling you the whole way up here. Just makes that a little bit more difficult. Akash has been very bold with these charges, though. Could yet find something. Calvin nearly ready with an annihilation. Akash super low. They're having to work double time to top them off. Here we go. Going to go ahead and commit a sound barrier. And they've got a very nice Blizzard. They find Calvin as well with it. And that's going to open the door for them. Akash finally going down, but far too late in the day. 2 minutes on the clock as the cap comes across. And now as we come into the final section, I actually think this is where the Reinhardt might really start to shine.
Yeah, possibly. You'll still have to do some rotations up and down. This is where I think maybe keeping the Sim 4C makes a bit more sense. Symmetra on A and B struggle a little bit more, but Symmetra on C I think starts to get much better. Thailand swapping their composition significantly. Both DPS are swapping. Supports are swapping as well. Holy, Calvin already had the Ram for a little bit earlier on. And what a play from India to be able to drop that Blizzard in, catch two. Akash stays alive. They've bursted out the trans earlier.
Calvin, aggressive with the annihilation, but he eats an Earth Shatter and a charge and is down. An ultimate for an ultimate. The Photon Barrier also committed here. They need to see if they can pick up another kill. There we go. They've found Ace. No more Immortality Field, of course, for Thailand, by the way. So much easier to confirm some of these picks. High Vision drilled down. India starting to really pick up some momentum.
Yeah, they're doing great now. India are making up for a lot of time. They struggle a little bit on A, but after that, it's been quite a bit more comfortable. There's the 4 TPs now. They can also reset the TP and work that over towards the pool side as well through the window. But at this stage, Thailand is so far behind that India don't have to worry about that high ground. They can continue playing low ground, play for the 5v5 brawl here, It's exactly where India are comfortable in this composition. Ironman's nearly on another Blizzard.
Abs did commit the window and has now lost it. High Vision, by the way, speaking of Blizzards, also has one of his own about to be available. If they could get a pick now, rotation through to try and pinch it in with the teleport, but it just leaves Captain Prash out in the cold. So now the team a little bit split up and not on the card, not quite the play that India were looking for.
So they still have 4 together here. As you can see, one playthrough Silhouette is trying to respawn. Meet the team again, I believe that's Prash, right? So
yeah,
we'll have to wait for the 5, and that's where Thailand start to, again, as you say, High Vision looking towards the Blizzard. He has it now. And the rest of Thailand slowly getting towards his ultimates. Coalescence up. Ace nearly on Death Blossom. Swapping sides of the map now.
Captain Prash, because he died, not able to get that sound barrier available. Abs, Immortality Field dealt with. It's going to be double Blizzard, but Thailand definitely getting the better end of the deal. Captain Prash only just has the ice barrier now. Obviously, too late to save the likes of Akash, but they do find Ace, as Thailand and India have effectively swapped positions around this card. Photon barrier now to split the fight in 2. Forces Thailand into a bit of an awkward position. Can they dust off Calvin, though? That's the critical kill as Akash comes back in around the side, returning the respawn, and they dust off Thailand. Now the final push in. Can they keep cap on these respawners? They have an Earth Shatter.
And this is why the Photon Barrier and Symmetra is so much better on C. That was deadly. Thailand couldn't get around it. They have to go for the touchdown. Ace has confirmed that doesn't have a ship left.
And they go in for a shatter. Nicely found. Calvin charged in. Can they finish him off? Yes, they can. Now just dealing with the squishies. And it's so hard to go up against Akash's hammer in that situation. It pays off in the end. 36 seconds on the clock. Not the most comfortable time in the world, but a completed cap nonetheless. And if they can pull off a defense somewhere, India keep the series alive.
That was a real blue-collar offense coming through from India. They got that work done. The hands are dirty. It was a hard sweat brawl. To make it through A was difficult. C started to get a little bit more difficult once Team Thailand also matched with their Ram brawl. But India, a full capture, 36 seconds. Look, if they can just hold at some point on the map, 36 will be all they need. If this goes into a time bank, things get a little bit trickier because I don't know that they can comfortably repeat the Ryan brawl once more on A. A couple of things on that. One, given that they've already shown the composition, so Thailand to prepare for it. But 2, 36 seconds is just not enough time, given how long it took them to get through A. So I think for India, they really need to sort out this defense to make sure that time bank is not going to be a factor. And they're not going to even look at the Ryan brawl for this defense, and I think that's expected.
The other unfortunate thing here is because they capped with under a minute left, obviously one of those little mechanics there.
There's no draws on this.
There is no draws, exactly. Also, moreover, if Thailand's cap out in the overtime, they still get some time added to the board. If India had capped with more than a minute left, Thailand, if they capped in the overtime, would only be defending.
It's easy to outfight them.
Sorry, I lied.
No, they both get time. Both teams
you both get
minute.
time regardless because this is escort, not hybrid.
Yep.
I know how this game works.
That's what I'm saying.
Thanks, appreciate that.
Yep.
No tiebreakers, 5 tie players.
Sigma Mirror coming on through. Ace should not be on the far here. Not really the map for it. And he understands that is exactly how it is. I'm maybe a little surprised he's not opting to the Widow. I understand that offensive Widow does have less angles, but the outrange factor is pretty significant.
Yeah.
Especially when you know India are not going to play the Widow at all.
They're kind of playing into what India want to do. Pummy, though, has to go change his trousers after that shot. It is otherwise fine. As the cart just continuing to march forwards. No kills either way.
Iron Man taking a bit of punishment behind the statue, but will stay alive for now. 1 HP.
Pummy! Oh, out in the open. High Vision has his number. Now keeping Iron Man marked, rather. This is
Akash
a really bad situation
forward.
for Akash to be. Has the Immortality Field there to bail him out, but he's totally split up from his team. Definitely going to go down here. Just a really sloppy bit of positioning from Team India, letting themselves get that split up.
Yeah, and Akash is now the last one alive. They actually left and they said, look, Akash is on the high ground behind us. We can move forward and just take down the supports. Leave Akash for us, and that's smart because even if there's a respawn wave, given that Akash dies last, you can't retake that. So Thailand, they swiftly, I want to say, take the red. That's a very quick cap of 8.
Was about a minute and a half on the clock for India when they got that cap through. So 5 minutes now on the B for Thailand.
Look at High Vision's damage up versus Iron Man. Iron Man's not quite at 50%. High Vision got so much damage and kills in that fight. It's up to the Dragon Strike already. And High Vision was the one that catches Pummy out at the beginning as well.
And India only just actually coming back to this fight. They've been respawned for a while. They step out and Thailand is set up. They're immediately ready for it. Very little proactivity here from India. It feels like the wheels are starting to come off.
This is not quite a cap just yet, but they're really threatening it now. It depends how many staggered kills they
Late
get.
death on Prash.
They're going to try and slow that one down as much as they can. They do slow it significantly. Iron Man now swapping over towards the Genji instead. We saw the lamp come through from Prash as well, but it came through at a weird angle. I think he was hiding behind inside the C point itself, so didn't have good vision onto Akash. So Akash didn't quite walk within the lamp's range and dies essentially to the Dragon Strike as a cap.
They knew that really late, and again, they've let Thailand have maximum time to set up here. Flux used Akash taking an absolute pummeling. They had to commit the Immortality Field and the Transcendence. Now it's Akash's turn. He's super low here.
Oh,
They found the cap slips through under their noses.
Akash was there.
Even with Binding Ace, Akash was lifted up off it while channeling the Rabbinic Flux. Now goes down. Unmitigated disaster, unforced error. And India, twice in a row now, they've had all members respawn. They've been really slow to come to the play and let Thailand have all the proactivity.
Man, they had that point. The defense was good. I mean, okay, 135 left. That's pretty tight in terms of margins. But they were there. They contested. They should have been able to hold. That's really upsetting. In Thailand, they'll eventually be able to clean up that team fight.
Big defense ahead of India now.
Time is a huge factor. Akash is potentially in trouble. Calvin's knocked off the high ground, though, so that's good for India. They have full high ground control.
Yeah, very much
Thailand's
so.
going to be forced to play coast side now. I don't think they can... Wait, they are going to push... Well, where's India? They need to be expanding through the windows.
I feel like Where's India has been a recurring theme now. They're waiting to the last possible minute here, and it's just unnecessary. They've already lost Iron Man. Both overclocks running here. Pally is low. Pummy will find that. And a Pudo. There we go. Pummy putting the team on his back when it matters most. Ace a little bit out in the cold here. Immortality Field deployed to keep himself alive there. Captain Prash. And in that time, they will be able to find Ace. Finding Calvin as well. High vision. Whew. And this is, in a weird way, this is a little bit good for the defense. Just, they have the spawn gates right there. This should be defendable, but it's long and it's tough, and there is no margin forever.
That's the problem, is they can't make another mistake, otherwise the cap's there. And we talk about the time bank, and 36, it felt good when India got it, but Thailand is threatening like a 3-minute time bank here, which would then get pushed up where India, gained 24 seconds, and Thailand get whatever plus then 24. So, rough spot, and as I was saying earlier, India, they forced Calvin off the high ground. They had full window control out from this pool side, and they didn't play it at all. They didn't spam through the actual window. They didn't spam through their vision sightline advantage. They just kind of allowed Thailand to push the payload to the end.
Iron Man holding on to this Dragon Blade. It's Dragon v Dragon. Here we go. Finds high vision.
What a rock!
Woo! Stuns up Iron Man and completely stops him short. 1 for 1 though. Ultimates and DPS is Ace a little bit low. Having to play coy around the side. Calvin trying to get aggressive, has forced members back to the base. Abs super low, nearly has Transcendence, but not quite back in the play just yet. Pummy in trouble. Pudo though does get picked off. Pummy still low, but he has the team at his back now with that Transcendence running from Abs. Has to commit it, no choice but to. And this is a window thrown in from India as well. They're putting a lot into this. I don't know how necessary it was, but they do complete another defense.
Right, it's necessary when Thailand were really threatening to cap there, and it wasn't guaranteed that India were going to win the fight. So I think throw it in there, have the comfort, knowing that you'll at least shave another minute here. I think it's very likely that Thailand finish this map. The question will be with how much time, and that's the biggest problem for India. They need to burn down this timer as much as possible and probably play inevitably for that final time back. Thailand still have so many ultimates coming up. Yeah. This could be the push now that Thailand secure it.
This is the one that India really have to watch out for. They probably actually need a pick to open things off and then get a good flux. I think if they don't get both of those pieces,
who can get the pick? It's really just Pummy.
Okay.
Or a good right click from Abs, but seems like such a low chance.
Exactly. But strange things have happened. A Pudo going in early with the... when they've already found Captain
We're see the high ground here.
The Flux not really finding much, forces out the Transcendence. Abs already picked up as well, and India up a tree without a ladder about now. A Pudo, Immortality Field, he's still low though, could well go down, does in fact go down. Is this the beginning of the recovery? Akash, no, he's down. The only kill they've got so far is a Pudo on this defense here, India. Respawn is coming out, Pummy does find high vision. Iron Man though, down. Captain Prash may be the one who has to jump out to contest an hard second here. Flux from Calvin to keep people off the cart. So many kills coming through. Res on Iron Man, but Abs trades his own life for it, and Iron Man just out in the cold here, stuck up against Calvin. There's no way for him to deal with that. Member, Akash coming out on a wrecking ball just for the stall potential at this point in the game is to burn down the clock to try and make that time bank as even as possible. Who else can die for it? Abs not going to be able to touch at this rate. Pummy barely getting out there for a second. Iron Man cannot. They at least run down the clock a reasonable amount, and with the extra time added, it's 1:38 to 1 minute. But India, that could have been defendable. They just don't seem to have the gumption.
They managed to be able to at least just take that advantage down to about a 50%-ish advantage, a little bit more than that. That's workable, because it was looking disastrous. If Thailand gets like a 3-minute time back, or dare I say anything above 2, you're looking at double the amount of time. But here, it's, you know, a 38-second extra time window for Thailand is not impossible for India to turn it back around. I mean, it allows time to play through one extra fight, essentially one fight and a reset. So India just have to be able to survive that. Maximum distance required here. They're going to go through for the Ryan Cop again. Now, I did say that if they were to choose to do this, Thailand would this time be very aware of it. So, Ace, and part of the reason that you can see is Ace is already on the Sojourn. That's all they know.
It's the exact thing that you were speaking about before when we were talking about the potential for a time bank. India have very few options for what they run. This composition only really started to come into its own on the C point. They're not going to be able to get that far with only a minute.
I think they snowballed effectively on B, but that requires you to cap A, and that's the hardest part. A was the most difficult part for India, I think, on their attack.
Keep in mind, they lost the fight on B as well, and on this one, by the time they get to that midpoint on B, if they lose a fight, that'll be it. They won't have any more time on the clock.
I'd be surprised if they got to B. I think if you can cap through A, that's good enough, because capping A means you have that amount to work with for a 138 offense on Thailand.
I do actually like this from Pummy going on to the Widowmaker. It does give him the better line against Ace. They're recognizing that Ace probably preempts the Ryan pick by going Sojourn, swapping back off.
They don't. This comp needs mobility. This Ryan comp just can't move without a sim, without something to help it forward.
Here we go.
And despite the fact that the sim doesn't offer a lot outside the TP, you can try and run at people with the left click, but you're completely outrange here. The TP is really what this is about.
It's a lot of time wasted as well. And by the way, they're not fighting on the cart as they go for this, so they have to get a quick fight win here and then rotate back to the cart. Nope, not quick enough. They have to pull back, and that means they're playing into the sight lines for Ace and High Vision.
This is it. OT's about to hit. No more mistakes.
Just 10 seconds left. There's Akash taking a bit of a beating. And they're really struggling here. Very little pick potential, very few options. Iron Man could maybe sneak something through with the right click. They're not in a good position to broaden. They can't teleport off the cart anymore now that the overtime wick is in play. Trying to rotate around the side. Short range teleport to get Akash around the back. He's low though, needs to be careful. No immortality. Feel Pummy! Pummy's the first one to go down. And that could be the beginning of the ends for India. Unless they can get something back. They've got a nice amplification matrix for Iron Man and Akash to play through. Ace is low, but Akash is low too. Ace getting chopped off. Ace does go down. Iron Man finds one. Akash low. They're trying desperately to keep him topped off. Both healers working overtime. And they are able to do it, but with that flux, that could just pull everyone off the cart.
And they can't stop it either. The flux will come through. Nothing can really stop it. Three.
No one's on the cart. No.
You have to see that play coming through. That is a win condition. You can have a gravitic flux C9. It's possible.
Yeah.
So whoever is not picked up by the flux has to immediately die for the payload. You have to know that's on the cards.
And they had the immortality field in play if they were able to get back down in time, but that overtime wick burns very short when you're in a time bank situation like that. And as you rightly said, you got to read the play. You got to have someone ready for it. Captain Prash could have been a little bit further back from his team so that he could speed in and keep the cart touched. That would have been a recoverable situation. In the absence of that, 67.7 meters, 1 minute 38 for Thailand to confirm their spot in the group stages of the World Cup.
India have to play this one very close. I think they even have to hold the first corner here. The problem with that push is it didn't clear the hairpin. It's midway through the hairpin. In fact, not even really that, because you'd have to be on the pedestrian crossing for the midway point, and it's not. It's behind that, which is a huge issue for this defense now. I think the most winnable position for India is first and foremost capping A, but without capping A, you still have to, I think, get the payload to the end of A, because that allows you a little bit more flexibility in terms of, okay, if we lose a fight, we go for a final contest here. Their final contest is now very difficult if the payload gets to that position, and it's very, very, I think, common for the payload to be able to get there. Thailand will test the waters out. They're thinking about a fire first. I also, by the way, I mentioned India have to play close. I didn't expect them to spawn cap. I thought for first corner, this is a lot closer than I expected.
Really going in for it. They've lost abs early, and you just can't afford that with a spawn cap situation. That being said, if they lose a fight here, they do still have enough time to respawn and defend at the sort of just before the midpoint of that hairpin. They've actually found Ace as well. A cash finally going down, so exacting a bit of a toll.
India have
Probably
lost
not
too much.
enough of a toll here, exactly. They needed to force a full reset from Thailand. They don't.
And they're going to stay on the... I think they'll stay on the comp. At this point, you're already committed. You already started building some ultimates. Some of them, it's not that much. I mean, you're 37 on Iron Man, but still, first ultimates coming online is super important. Ace is going to stay on the fire. That's interesting. But at the same time, India don't have a lot of range. So they'll just send it through. I mean, they won with the fire on map 1. They'll win it on map 2 as well if required.
Farah has been kryptonite for Team India. Pummy already just taking such a beating, and he's pretty much the only bit of answer they have if he can maybe get a rail shot up onto the Farah. Iron Man low. Ace just has free reign right now, and they have to defend out in the open as well.
Here it comes. That's final fight. 4 meters left to go. 30 seconds. Do or die for both teams.
It goes either way here. This is where India really need to pull it out, and they keep it alive. A cash low. Barrage right in behind them. No! Pummy's found him! Such a critical beat of timing. He was a little bit too low, a little bit too early. Didn't have it just yet, and now 12 seconds on the clock. If India can get another one, they find Calburn, and with the ice wall down, if they could pick up a few more, they could just lock Thailand off this car. High vision, going for the touch. He doesn't get there in time. Nobody's there. Ace goes in with a barrage, finds Cap the Prash, and will trade his own life for it. I don't believe it. India, they had to pull it out. They managed to pull out a very fraught defense, and that keeps the series alive.
Wow, Thailand took a risk on that Farah, and it does not pay off. This is the reason why you don't really play Farah on Circuit Royale, but as you sort of rightly mentioned there, Ace dropped down way too early. He didn't have the barrage yet. He thought he had it, but he needed a little bit more damage, and he spent a bunch of time playing ground fire, like a good second or a second and a half, but that's enough time for Pummy to get the kill. You need to be able to drop down in mid-drop, get the barrage going, even if you trade your life for a Cautious, totally worth. A Farah death for a tank death, your team still wins the 4v4, but if you just die and nothing happens, the game's over. There's no time left to reset.
Yeah, this close. This close. It is an absolute game of tiny, tiny margins right now. And I mean, that's exactly it, right? If that play had gone slightly differently, if the barrage comes out, if the cash goes down, even there's a world where Ace actually lives in the end, but those slight, tiny little bits have such a huge impact. And I gotta tell you, if we go to push and India pick up the win and Thailand know that they could have had it, they will absolutely be kicking themselves. Domino, that was a fantastic map. What are your thoughts?
I'm shocked by the level of experimentation of compositions that we have just seen. I do not, I think it was very risky. I do applaud India for playing the composition with the Symmetra and the TPs and that, but oh man, this is not the time to be experimenting. This is not the time to be pulling out Farahs when you know you shouldn't be doing them. This is not, I'm very shocked. I agree with you guys. I think Thailand's going to be kicking themselves. I'm not surprised. I'm not sure why they didn't just play the Sojo on Hanzo or the Hanzo Widow. Play what is safe, play what you know to get you across that line. So I'm shocked. I'm interested to see what happens in push now.
Yeah, and well, can be no ties in push, unless I suppose nobody touches the robot at all, but that's not going to happen, which means we are definitely crowning a winner after this. And as we've already kind of said, effectively whoever wins this is going to qualify. Thailand have a guaranteed qualify. India, they just need to, I believe, pick up one last win after this against Singapore. So it's all to play for. Someone's got to walk away with it. They've done the groundwork to keep it competitive here, India. Can they confirm? Find out after the break.
You asked, we listened. The McFeast is back in all its beefy, salady, saucy glory. Value means more at Macca's, so grab a McFeast lunch deal now for only $5.95.
hope you bought your running shoes because we're in for an absolute marathon here. This is one of the few games I've actually had that has gone all the way to a map 3, all the way to a push. It is, of course, Thailand versus India, and the winner really takes it all here. The winner will qualify, almost guaranteed. It is guaranteed for Thailand. India, they just need to get one more over the line against Singapore, which is a pretty achievable win for them, to be perfectly honest. And it's 1-1. What an absolute banger of a match to finish off day 2.
I thought we were going to get a third map here. I felt it in my bones that a third map was possible. I started to not believe that once I saw what was happening in the final couple of OT pushes. You know, the OT phase of the game was very Thailand favored, and a critical mistake from Ace towards the end on the fire. And, you know, Thailand did take a bit of a risk with the fire, but it was still well enough calculated that you can win with fire there. It was just a simple misexecution, and that cost them the map and actually might even cost them the series.
Quite possibly.
I'm really glad to see we're going to the third map. I thought Thailand might have had it in the bag, which would have been a bit disappointing because I thought this was going to be such a much closer and tighter map. So it's really nice to see India pull it back together, even with this experimental composition that they had with the Mei and the Symmetra. It was really interesting to see it played as well, where they'd use the Symmetra to TP across and then a wall to, you know, split the team up. So well done to them for trying something new and making it pay off this time.
And we were sort of talking about this a little bit over the break, but this is such an important match for both of these teams. This would represent a pretty significant step forward. India, we've sort of mentioned in the past, hasn't had a lot of presence at the various World Cups over the years, and Thailand has always sort of been a little bit on the precipice. They've had some flashy showings, but never really gone anywhere in terms of overall progress, which is a little bit of a shame, including several years ago at their home stage in Bangkok, where they made an appearance. They really they did impress quite a bit, but weren't actually able to qualify out of that group. So obviously the group stages, that same level of the tournament, is still ahead of us, but this is the first step along towards that. You hate that you have to send one of these teams home.
Yeah,
It sucks for
very
sure.
skilled
Really
team.
does.
Two teams actually. I mean, because New Zealand also require that India win here. So New Zealand are quietly, they're happy right now. They got a fist in the air. But look, this, and I think anything can happen now. Map 3 is totally open. We haven't seen a lot of push. We don't really have. I think we saw Thailand on Colosseo, and that was one of the first few moments we saw
Against
Ace
Australia.
absolutely pop off, and it's going to be Colosseo again. So I'm expecting Ace to be back on Sojourn.
And that is, of course, Thailand's map pick. And I'm trying to rack my brains. When they played against Australia, they obviously went to Colosseo as well. And I can't remember if that was their pick or Australia's, but either way, they did lose that particular map. And that was where they lost that series against Australia.
I believe it was Australia's choice because they'd taken the second map maybe off Australia. I feel like I can't remember either, but yes, I do remember Ace playing the Sojourn and getting some really good kills in it, so I'm also expecting that. I'm not too sure what else to expect on this map. I don't know if we're going to see more the rush compositions or sort of some dives. I'm feeling rushes here, but maybe Avril has a bit better insight than me on what we might see on Colosseo.
There's a lot of Ram mirrors. I think Ram Brawl mirrors should be the play. May Sojourn composition, Lucio Bat or Lucio Mora, both acceptable here.
Well, all things being acceptable and all things being equal, we are tied up 1-1, and we are ready to get into this map. The final appearance potentially is technically possible to tie on push, but highly unlikely and highly unusual. All to play for. And I've got to say, I am thrilled.
Yeah, this is seriously an open game now. I think you can, at this stage, forget about the last two maps. I think the positioning for both teams are reset. A situation where, look, is it possible to bring the fire out again? Yeah, but I would not expect it on this map. I think you need to really now get back in the zone of what you're really good at, what got you here in the tournament, what your team is comfortable playing. And we're going to be into what is likely going to be a compositional mirror, which I think is what India would far more prefer to play against than a lot of the stuff that Thailand's brought to the table so far.
Yeah, it's actually one thing that's worth noting is we haven't had a whole lot of mirrors so far across this series. We haven't had a whole lot of straight up and down fights where we just kind of measure the players directly one against the other. Indeed, we are going to be seeing a mirror. In fact, full mirror, including the support lines by the looks of things. Actually, no, Ace and Pummy, only difference there.
So I'm a little surprised that Ace is not going to match the Sojourn, given that that was the hero that he popped off on before. But for the Reaper, a lot of more front-focused damage output. I think we're coming down to like pure Lucio Moira rushing into each other. The Reaper gives you a lot more, especially on that front line. But opportunity to have the real pick potential pop off, that will be in Pummy's hands.
Yeah, those rail shots, so devastating, so useful, and Pummy has performed very well on Sojourn. Some of the early appearances we saw from India in this tournament, we were seeing Pummy, especially with the overclock, getting massive kill streaks. And now, robot active. India, Thailand do have the slightly better starting position around it. India just taking their time, angling in, looking for picks.
Who's someone high now? This is a good opportunity. Still waiting for the right click, but reserve, holding it, looking for the right player. Doesn't want to burn it on a 250 HP hero. Looking for someone in the back line.
By
He's got Ace.
There we go, and not able to slip away with that Wraith form was Ace. High vision also still very low. Calvin taking a lot of heat and just getting full pressure on now, charging them up and dropping the right clicks wherever plausible, wherever possible, collecting the kills. First fight will go the way of India. First little bit of progress.
4K for Pummy, looking for the 5 now.
There we go. Nope, Akash has it.
Well, they got to get rid of it quick, as otherwise Zaputa's going to delaying the actual capture here. So, India take away our first fight, and they are going to take a massive advantage on ults as well. Look at that. Basically across the board, I think, okay, Pally's going to get the cold lessons first. Akash, reasonable lead over Calvin. And Iron Man and Pummy just running away with the ults as well.
This is exactly what India need. They put in the hard yards to keep their tournament hopes alive across Circuit Royale, and this is the kind of start they're looking for. Double coalescence, Abs and Pally, both Calvin getting aggressive with the Annihilation, but Iron Man throwing down the Blizzard to slow things out. Sound barrier first from Captain Prash. Now Pudo choosing to match in the cash his own Annihilation, but he's low. He's going to go down here. High Vision holding on to his Blizzard as they collect up Pummy and Captain Prash. Thailand didn't find much with their ultimates, but India didn't really find much with theirs either.
Well, both teams used the sound barriers there, so we had a lot of ult resetting. The extra ult that came through from Iron Man should have been securing it for India. Haivision even held on to the Blizzard. But Thailand caught Akash. Akash annihilated. Wall comes through, Haivision completely locks him out for the rest of the team, and that was the opening effect that snowballed Thailand's ability to win the fight, and now in a much better position.
Oh! The shots across, the overclock running. Pummy, I mean, Akash is getting the kill credits here, but it's Pummy who's laying the damage down. That was a very important turnaround. India leveraging the one tool they still had at their disposal.
And Haivision was the one tool that Thailand needed to be able to use as well, but was the first dead in that fight. And it's kind of what I'm talking about, the power overclock, the power playing Sojourn, Pummy on that Sojourn in particular, has the ability to pop off, take the team's fate into his own hands, and now Thailand's going to have to use the Blizzard off defensively rather than offensively.
Options.
India respecting the Thai defense a little bit here. They pulled us back to neutral space, so they want to take the fight on the low ground.
Oh, Akash once again a little bit caught. Ace trying to get in around the side, has a Death Blossom, looking for it. Haivision gets picked off, and that's the Blizzard down. Doesn't find anything with the Death Blossom. Now Ace a little bit out in the cold. Akash does finally go down. They took a long time to find that, and the Coalescence helping it out, but Ace dead. Iron Man, big trades coming through. What can India pull out here? They have a Coalescence if they want to commit further in. They find a Puda, but they lose Abs, so no Coalescence option now. It's really just been Pummy, but with him getting marked now by Calvin, will go down, and that was potentially winnable for India. I think Abs wanted to hold on to an ultimate that they could have simply chosen to commit.
Well, Akash dying there early again, just being locked out by walls. Haivision doing a great job. The Blizzard certainly is able to help that. Calvin having no opposition on the other end as one tank versus zero. Thailand have a huge advantage. Deep again.
Huge ult advantage for India here, having to use the sound barrier to rescue Akash rather. Calvin with the Annihilation does go down. 3 ultimates expended to make that happen. Ace low, can they get it? Yep, there we go. Another one collected, looking for Haivision now. They're just slowing down the robot as much as possible. This though, India, is their opportunity to maybe start pulling ahead a little bit more earnestly.
Well, Thailand will have the full wave of respawns here to contest, so that won't happen until the next fight, but I have to mention that Pudo actually didn't have sound barrier in the last fight. He dies, well, when Calvin dies, the Pudo's on about 97, so that's a little unfortunate timing-wise, as keeping Calvin up would have been a major win condition there, had the Annihilation up as well.
Ooh, Pudo dies to the overclock. The rail shot from Pummy, and I was about to say, Pummy with that overclock has been such a force to be reckoned with. Calvin and Ace both finished off as well with super low, and that's the one that India really need. They did the groundwork in the previous fight. They confirm it in the next one, even though they didn't get that much value out of the overclock. Bad. Nice stall there from Haivision. They will get a little bit more progress now.
Because you're in the sort of situation where Thailand can actually play this 4v5, and even then, Haivision is not that far up from respawning. The cap is unlikely to come on through. Yeah, they're contested already. This is great from Thailand, despite losing the fight.
And the sound barrier available. Nothing really here yet for India. Coalescence is near.
India
They've actually taken control of the robots. Yeah, India backing way out. Long rotation back into a neutral fight here.
India didn't want it. They should have stayed in just to force ultimates. I think India should have played the fight.
Yeah.
Get the 2 support ultimates out. Even though if you lose that fight, you force resources, and then Thailand would have to re-push this distance anyway, so they've basically done exactly what would have happened, but Thailand had 2 extra ultimates.
Needlessly conservative and not in a good way, and there we go, double Coalescence, but Iron Man, the first to go down, not enough health. No counter picks just yet. India nearly had themselves a sound barrier as well to potentially match a Pudo, but Pummy is super low, will get a shot out of the sky there, and that's a really tough one. Losing that in the neutral means Thailand will be able to even up. Could have a late death here if they don't rotate out in time.
Yeah. Tell you what, the ultimates are far better for Thailand, and this is where things get really good. They got to save ultimates to gain payload control. They only use the Coalescence to start pushing, and now Thailand can win with this 3 ults, plus the extra Annihilation coming online. They get the cap.
This could really be the moment where Thailand starts to pull ahead. It's going to be a very close one. Early sound barrier from a Pudo, then locked out by the ice wall. So they get nothing out of the first ultimate. The Death Blossom nicely done. Now it's Haivision's turn, but there is a sound barrier. Captain Prash, nope, it's Abs the first to go down. Akash was getting low, nearly has the Annihilation, but just not quite. They've had to back away. They've had to the They're still trying to contest. Akash is still alive, has a little bit topped off there, and as an Annihilation, they've lost Iron Man. They find Haivision, losing Captain Prash. It's all over the show. A Pudo low. They've still got Pummy in the mix with an overclock. No, goes down. Calvin has that sorted. Ace back in the fight as well, and Akash just not getting much out of this Annihilation. The cap about to come across. That's Thailand. Only 3 minutes on the clock, pulling ahead, and India still actually waiting for respawns to force Thailand off.
And Thailand might just back out here. They've done enough. They don't have to fight this any longer. They know they're at a 4th spot, and that's going to be the call. Thailand, they're going to exit. They got the cap. That was a minimum viable product for them, and they achieve it. India, man, they did a great job keeping Akash alive. Maybe a little bit of fumble by Thailand not to get the kill.
Yeah.
But they can't stop the cap.
It's a good start, though, for India on what is a long recovery, but losing Iron Man, and not a great angle here for Pummy, locked out by that ice wall, and those ultimates available for Thailand. India just starting to run out of steam more and more in these fights. They're starting to get too desperate. They're starting to get too aggressive, and Thailand are just playing ring around the rosy with them.
Payload is contested from the bridge, and now it is seeking movement again. Once India fully respawn here, Thailand can once again just leave the payload. They're just going to sneak a few meters in, look for the 75 plus, maybe threaten the 80, and then back out.
Yeah, there we go. Here's the rotation away, and it's just running down the clock. It's starting to get dire for India. 2 minutes is just enough to do it, but they have to basically win every single fight from here on out to pull back ahead in progress.
They're going to make India force to spend ultimate. It's going to get expensive for India. Everything's probably going to get spent here.
And it's exactly what India should have done a few fights ago, as you pointed out. They could have forced ultimates out of Thailand. Instead, they pulled back to a neutral.
Oh, Thailand winning.
Oh, they're really committing in because they found the kill on Iron Man. They were low. Apudo went, I got an ultimate. We can stay in this. They found Pummy, though. They've lost a couple of members. High Vision looked to go down here. Ace died earlier. Don't think he's going to rejoin. But again, they're running out the clock. They're burning as much time as possible.
I think that was actually kind of worth from Apudo. They really start to turn the fight around. There's a good chance they actually win that fight. And now Thailand, as you sort of mentioned, pull the timer back a little bit more. 120 left to go. The 30 meters to catch up is possible by India, but they got to win several fights to get there. And it's been difficult for India to be able to get those through. The good news for India is they didn't have to pull through the extra blizzard. That's going to be to India's benefit. Ace hiding here, reveals positioning.
Okay, does force out the Ice Cube. They're just getting on top of Iron Man. Look at that, already drilled down. Nemesis, Annihilation rather, running from Akash. Captain Price already using the sound barrier. They're just making no headway here. Not enough damage out. Iron Man being dead. That's twice in a row he's not been able to commit a blizzard. Less than 45 seconds on the clock and not enough progress for India. We've reset to the neutral with Thailand back in control.
Thailand will throw this payload all the way back into, I think, even the bridge area.
Yep.
India's going to go over towards a Doom. This is very touch and go. I mean, it's desperation if I've ever seen it. Thailand's going to forego the payload, so they could have probably pushed that slightly further, but they'll just leave it out in the open there.
Yep.
Play the final fight in the concourse. Hiding a lot of, okay, they're not really hiding, but they are just sort of playing around the glass area. Looking
India.
to Pummy to pull through for some big frags.
They got to get 2 in a row. Ice balled out again. It's just such an easy mark there. Still getting the shots across. Hasn't quite found enough damage, though. High Vision does go down. That's the Blizzard already committed as well. Ace having to go Wraith form here to reposition. Is in trouble. Apudo low. India looking a little bit scattered, but there's a lot of low members on Thailand that they can get pickings on. Apudo low. Iron Man has held on to this Blizzard, and that's looking to pay off for them now as they collect up Apudo, looking to find Calvin, looking to find Pally. They've got the overtime running, which means they have a chance. They have to win the next fight and possibly another after that.
Calvin does self-stagger slightly, and OT respawn times being as long as they are means that Thailand's going to have to spend a little bit of time regrouping. Coalition's battle to come through. India about to threaten the cap. This should be the fight to threaten the cap, and there'll be possibly one more fight after this. So India within 2 fight territory here.
All to play for. Ooh, Pummy gets an early kill into High Vision. Apudo hosed down from the backside. A sneaky play from Abs with the Coalescence in a beam battle against Pally. Has to reposition, stays alive now in the main chunk of the fight. What's the Meteor Strike going to do? It's just coming back. Here we go. They found Ace. They could do it. Last little bit of push forward. Akash still waiting to be topped off. Abs had to go the long way around to regroup. Here we go. What can they get? Still waiting for Ace to regroup, and they've held on to the Blizzard.
It's Blizzard for the win here. 3 meters, by the way. They have to contest.
Ace going in for the found High Vision again. Ace in with the Death Blossom, but the sound barrier to answer. They're all in the Blizzard. Oh my goodness. Ace still finds Pummy. Got the Crash Iron Man down, and the Blizzard just not enough. Look at that. 3 meters is in it. Down all the way to the last. Thailand surely tested. India not quite enough. Congratulations to Thailand.
Thailand will be tested, but they won't be bested here. They've made mistakes on Circuit Royale. They make up for it on map number 3 on Colosseo. It ended up being their map choice. They didn't put Ace on the Sojourn. They believed in the Reaper. They believed in the pure team play aspect of it. And it was a final fight with 3 meters between winning and losing. And Thailand will just be able to get it done. What a series. What a final map to end it on.
I mean, good grief.
I was going to say exact same thing, Avril. What a final match for the day. I was on the edge of my seat there. I thought Thailand had it in the bag, and then India swung back around, and I thought, oh my goodness, India's actually going to win this. I'm so impressed. I also, want to comment the fact that they had the Reaper instead of the Sojourn, which at the first I thought that wasn't looking too strong for them, as Sojourn was taking some really good off angles and getting a lot of the picks. But then they had the Mei, like High Vision just kept shutting down Pummy whenever they could. They either had really well placed walls, there was headshots. The Sojourn just didn't end up getting the value, I guess, that they wanted. And the Reaper having that really front presence to put that pressure on a Cash was really helping them out. But what a close match. I can't believe how close it was.
To have it genuinely come down to that final fight all on the table there, it's not often we see that in such a high-stakes situation. One fight, the difference between qualifying and not for both of these teams. And no matter who was going to lose it, they were always going to be kicking themselves, even more so now with how close that came. India will look at that fight, look at this game over and over again to try and figure out what they could have done different, what they could have done better.
I think mostly for India, what it comes down to is I would look at the first map, because that was the open control had been the biggest problem versus Australia. It was the biggest problem, I think, in this series as well. If you really want to identify between the three maps, which one went the poorest for India, it had to be Lijiang Tower. They eventually won Circle Royale, a little bit of luck involved there from Ace misplaying. But then Coliseum was a very tight map, also winnable, but a good performance from India. It was just the Lijiang that seems like an outlier to me in terms of India's performance.
Really, I mean, you can only say it so many times, but just an incredibly close series. But I think a well-deserved win by Thailand. Not an easy one to get it over the line, but this is also the team that is the only team to have taken a map off Australia. So I think very fitting that they are also looking to qualify in. And Australia could well go undefeated in this group still, depends on how they go tomorrow against New Zealand, could collect the 5-0. So 5-0, then 4-1, with your only loss being against Australia, a team that everyone else has lost to, and having the best result against Australia is, I think, the best. That's the best standing you can be on going into that the group stages here after this, aside from just outright going undefeated in your group.
I gotta say, like, map differential wise, Thailand and Australia are still fighting for first place, so they both qualify, and congratulations to them. But we haven't secured number 1, number 2 yet, because Australia is still yet to play their final game, and final map differential there could decide first or second seed, which might have some impact going into the
Quite possibly. Very big win there for Thailand in their final game, their final match of this qualifier, and we have Pudo once again to catch up with. And Pudo, oh, look at that, you're in style, you got the cat and everything. You look over the moon. You guys have officially qualified into the group stages of the World Cup. We've talked to you a few times over the last 2 weeks. So Pudo, how are you all feeling after that win?
Oh, we're feeling so great, like, everyone is crying right now except me.
Well, I don't believe you. You've got sunglasses on. You could be crying under there.
You're the veteran on this team. You've been on the World Cup team before, but this is the first time that Thailand have made it through to the actual group stage. So that's insane. I'll leave that for maybe Domino, but what I want to ask you specifically is about Circuit Royale. So you guys nearly won the map. You had the fire at the end, and then in the final moments, you lost the last fight on Circuit Royale. So what happened for you on Circuit Royale?
I think we forget to communication, because on that timing, Ace decided to play without like tell the team. He feel pressure, I think. Yeah.
That had been a bit of a recurring theme the last time we chatted as well. The communication is sort of the real big issue for this team still.
Yeah,
so
when something chaos is the real issue for us.
I have to ask a really important question that I don't know if anyone else wants to know, but gosh, I really want to know. What's your cat's name?
Pharaoh.
Pharaoh.
Yeah.
Oh, your cat is gorgeous. And I know that had nothing to do with Overwatch, but you can't have your cat there and not tell us. It's so gorgeous. But Avril was asking about the group stages. How are you feeling going into them now? Are there any teams you really do not want to come up against as well? How's everyone feeling?
We just want to go BlizzCon. That's it. We didn't think anything else. Yeah, we just think about that. I want to play in BlizzCon. I think this is maybe my first time, I think.
Yeah.
Because I disqualify every single time.
Yep.
Well, hopefully you guys are able to make it there. We'll have to see what group you end up being drafted into, but you are confirmed through along with Australia for your final match. It's a really fantastic showing from you guys, and you've had a great tournament run so far. Congratulations once again to you, Wapudo, and the rest of the team. go and have a well-earned celebration, and hopefully we'll get to see you at BlizzCon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So regardless of whether they go to BlizzCon or not, they will be heading to the LAN stage. They'll be heading to America in any case. And the group stage will be, I believe, taking place before the BlizzCon. So they'll be there anyway. They'll whether Puda plays in front of a crowd at BlizzCon, still up for debate in terms of who gets it out of the actual groups itself. But they're going to be there. They're in America. They get to attend BlizzCon. But the goal for them would be nice if they could also get to play in front of the crowd.
Be in the stage rather than in the audience. And wow, what an absolute outcome. And what a banger of a day we've had as well. 2 teams qualifying out today. That's exactly what you want to see. And with that, you see Australia 4-0. Mathematically, they are guaranteed through. Only 1 match to go for them against New Zealand. Even if they lose that, they're still through. The only thing that could change is potentially whether they are 1st seed or 2nd seed against Thailand there, who themselves 4-1 have played all of their matches. They're the only team so far to have played all of their matches, and they are also through. The real heartbreaker for that is that match eliminated not only India, but also New Zealand. Obviously, Malaysia and Singapore were already mathematically eliminated at the start of the day.
Yeah, there's only a +1 map differential here for Australia, so obviously if Australia win 5-0, their 1st seed, but if they lose to New Zealand, it could get a little bit tricky on the standings. There's a real chance that Thailand sneak away with the 1st seed, so despite losing to Australia earlier on, the map differential is close enough for Thailand to still be 1st in the group.
Well, there we go. And, well, this is going to be a really tough one. It's time for the Macca's Play of the Day, and there were a lot of great plays today, so let's take a look at which one it is. And here we go. It's a cash going in late. This is on the final bit of push for India to cap on Circuit Royale on their attacking half. And this was really solid, finally getting it over the line at the point where this team comp had really started to come into its own. They ended up winning that Circuit Royale map, as we just saw. Very close affair, and then also going quite close all the way on Colosseo as well. I have to say, all things considered, India should be extremely proud of their performance, not just in that match, but across this entire group stage. And it's not quite done either. As much as we're not playing for keeps, we're just playing for japes. Let's go ahead and take a look at what we've got on the docket for tomorrow. India versus Singapore. They'll get one last hurrah to maybe have a win, a little bit of a pat on the back, feel-good moment to close things out after failing to qualify today. And then the classic Trans-Tasman rivalry. There is absolutely no stakes in this one. It's all just for fun between Australia and New Zealand.
As it is for Singapore and India. It's a full fun day overall. We've qualified and eliminated everyone, but we still got the 2 matches to play on through for a little bit of extra rivalry and some, I think, respect in those games as well.
Always fun to see, and well, could still see a Trans-Tasman upset between New Zealand and Australia. And as we mentioned, it is actually technically possible for on map differential Australia to lose that match and actually end up the 2nd seed out of this group. Yeah. Any final thoughts of the day from you, Domino?
No, I think you guys have said everything that needs to be said, and I think it's going to be a really fun, chilled day, and so I'm looking forward to it as well.
I too am quite looking forward to it as well. I'm going to wear my Hawaiian shirt. I'm going to have a coconut with a straw in it. I might even get a nice little umbrella. It's going to be an absolute blast, and it has been an absolute blast today as well. That's going to do it for us for tonight. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much again to Macca's, and we'll see you tomorrow.